We are coming to you from the city beautiful Chicago, Illinois, where tonight Comcast Sportsnet presents White Sox baseball. It's Paul Konerko, it's Adam Dunn, Jose Quintana and the Sox as they get set to butt heads with Ryan Doumit, Josh Willingham, and Ron Gardenhire's Minnesota Twins. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrelson as we get set to bring you Game 2 of this three-game series. As you know, in the opener last night, we won that ball game 12-1. And certainly one of the heroes last night was Alexei Ramirez, who just loved to hit against this ball club every night of the week.
Ramirez has had a very good year, but he's had a special year against the Twins. He's done just about everything right. Hitting close to 400, 4 of his 5 home runs, 7 doubles, 13 runs batted in. And last night, simply went 4 for 4. So he's done it all against the Twins. And he's obviously going to be very unhappy when they leave town tomorrow.
Well, Jose Quintana on the bump, but we'll have to try to get him some of that run support that Eric Johnson got in his first win last night.
Jose Quintana's been throwing very well. He's 7-6 this year with an ERA around 3.5. And he's a guy that hasn't had any luck because, as you can see, in his last 14 starts, he gave up more than 3 earned runs just one time. So with 17 no decisions, he's knocking at the door of the all-time baseball record held by Bert Blyleven, who did it 20 times back in the National League. Quintana's just been unbelievable. Hopefully he gets some run support tonight and he can chalk up another win.
Well, we've won 4 in a row against these guys. Why don't we make it just 5 in a row against Minnesota? So sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
on Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you in part by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, through it all. AT&T Uverse. Visit att.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. And by Ford. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com.
Welcome back to U.S. Cellular Field. And I'm working tonight with longtime White Sox legend Bill Melton, because my partner, Ken Harrelson, is under the weather, and there's a very good look, a close-up of Bill. So we're going to try to take you through the second game of this, not do a whole lot of damage, and hope to get the White Sox home with a win in the second game of this three-game series. So, Bill, welcome aboard, and it should be a delightful evening.
Well, it's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, I just have a different profile. Our hair is the same color, so maybe they'll think I'm Mark Harrelson anyway.
Well, let's do the lineups and see how Ron Gardner is going to line up his Twins tonight. It's Darren Mastroianni leading it off with Brian Dozier in the 2 spot, Trevor Plouffe, Oswaldo Arcia, Ryan Dumit, Josh Willingham, Josmil Pinto, Chris Colabello, and Pedro Florimon at shortstop and hitting 9. The defense and how they'll line up behind Jose Quintana left to right, Viciedo, Diaza, and Danks. In the infield, Semien, Ramirez, Beckham, and Konerko. Josh Fegley gets a nod behind the plate. And our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is Jose Quintana for his 31st start of the year. His record 7-6, the ERA a touch over 3.5, 149 strikeouts in 179 2/3 innings. He's had very good control. He's gotten right-handers out better than left-handers, which is somewhat surprising. And the young man has done just a terrific job this year with 17 no decisions in most of those games, throwing very well. The umpires for the game tonight: Ted Barrett, the crew chief, behind the plate. Mike DeMuro is at first. Scott Berry is at second. And Alfonso Marquez is at third. The last 4 games against the Twins all have been White Sox winning efforts. The team has hit .303. They've averaged 7.5 runs a game, well above their average. Hits per game, 10.8. Again, well above average. 11 doubles, 9 home runs, and a team ERA of 2.25. That's not near as surprising as the offensive numbers. And so, Darren Mastroianni to lead it off. Mastroianni having a tough year at 182. He had a very bad ankle problem. In fact, he broke it, and just trying to come back from it. Talking with Ron Gardner, he said that he doesn't go side to side particularly well, but he's good enough to play center field. So the first pitch of the ball game is a fastball that misses wide.
You know, you look at the Minnesota Twins, Tony, they're a little bit in a transition, just like the White Sox. They have a lot more young guys, or as many now as the Sox.
Well, this is a team that has a lot of rebuilding to do. And obviously with Terry Ryan, the general manager on this trip, he's taking a look and seeing just exactly what he can take forward to next season. So the count goes to 1-2. Quintana has a good straight change, will cut the ball inside to the right-hand hitters. And the outfield playing a step toward right center field. Fouls that one back. And Bill, from a left-hand pitcher with a good change, did you approach him any differently than you would any other pitcher?
Well, you would, unless you find out now that Quintana really works both sides of the plates with that fastball. He's able to get in on your hands right now. If he wasn't able to throw the fastball away or fastball in, I don't think that changeup would mean a lot. But I think now that they know that he has pretty good control with that fastball on both sides of the plate, it does make it a little bit tougher, because a lot of times as a right-handed hitter, you're leaning to go to right center field or right field, one or the other. And it's the cutter or that fastball in your hands that gets a lot of pop-ups. A lot of times you see hitters jump back, and it's called strike 3. And that's what Quintana's success, I think, in the latter part of the season right here has really been that.
2-2 pitch. And that one misses down, so the count goes full. Jose would just as soon keep that pitch count down You don't want to get into that bullpen too early. Johnson went 6 last night, and then Veal, Webb, and Lindstrom followed him. Ground ball to second. Tough hop. Off balance throw, but they get it.
Well, now it's just becoming a routine thing for Gordon Beckham right now with that little flip he has over there. He's played a terrific second base. Made a few more errors this year than he normally does, but I think since that wrist problem, I don't think it's really affecting the field. I think it's affecting him a little bit more at the plate. But, you know, up the middle, the White Sox are pretty sound.
Brian Dozier, who had the night off last night, getting a start, hitting .240 this year. He's shown some power against us. 17 home runs. He's driven in 61. Last year, they sent Dozier down to the minor leagues, and it was very much of a wake-up call for him because this year he's been a much different player. Yanks that one foul. It's a long way, but well foul. And for a middle infielder, he's going to hit close to 20 home runs. That's a pretty good number these days in the major leagues.
Yeah, I think the Minnesota Twins are starting to develop their everyday players just a little bit better. I think is really where they're having a tough time, I think, is that pitching staff. And I think that's where the White Sox have a bit of an edge as far as young starters.
Pops that one straight back, and the count holds at 0-2. Ron Gardner in his 12th year managing the Twins. .516 winning percentage. And he appears to be on the hot seat, if you can believe it, despite the fact that Minnesota has had a lot of success under Gardner.
And you know what? That's a bit surprising because with a guy like Ron Gardner, what's he really good at under Tom Kelly was fundamentals. And you would think with a young ball club, as well as that organization teaches fundamentals, that he's almost the perfect guy that, you know, should sit, you know, on that bench to make sure these young guys learn how to play the game right. So that's a little bit surprising that he is on a hot seat, but sometimes changes are needed.
Well, with Gardner, I really believe that if in fact they do make a move, and Gardy was quick to say that Twins don't owe him anything. They've given him 12 years to manage in the big leagues, establish the fact that he can manage, and he still wants to manage. He's just shy of his 56th birthday, and he would not be unemployed long. And Dozier continues to foul them off, both left and right.
Well, I think you're right there that, again, I wouldn't suspect much more than 48 hours before some team, whether it's a team building from the youth, but I think Ron Gardner, as many times he's been to the playoffs, can take a championship club and do the same thing.
Outfield straight away for Dozier. And nice movement by Fegley behind the plate.
Yeah, Jose's having a little bit of trouble with that change. It looked like he kind of almost gave it away there. That's not generally what you want to do with a changeup. You want it to look just like your fastball. So it looks like he's fighting early in the game right here. It's only the first inning, and he's had times in the first and second innings where he had a little bit of problem getting it going.
Right side, base hit. So a good at bat by Brian Dozier. He battled and finally got a pitch and didn't hit it hard, but poked it through.
Well, this is really what you want to see from a young hitter right here. I know this is the second or third year, but when you're behind in the count, all you really want to do is put the ball in play. Does a nice job here with that fastball away. It looks like they can kind of read Quintana a little bit, but, you know, I think once he gets that pitch on the inside corner, I think, you know, Quintana will be a lot better off, and he needs to establish that rather early in the game, I hope.
Trevor Plouffe has been their hottest hitter through the month of September. Hitting .252, 14 home runs. He's driven in 49. And he takes one down and in. Dozier can run. He's swiped 11 bases, been caught 6 times. The month of September, Trevor Plouffe, who's a dead fastball hitter, prefers it middle in if he can get it, has been certainly as hot as anybody. That fastball evens it up at 1-1.
I'm not really sure if Dozier is much of a threat. I think Quintana has a pretty good move to first base.
Now, he's their second best base stealer, and what base stealers usually want to do is have that pitcher give you his best move. And that time, Dozier took a quick move towards second base, realized he couldn't get a jump, and went back. Well, the count moves to 2-1. Josh Phegley looks over at Mark Parent to see if he has any suggestions on perhaps a move to first base and a running count. Line drive center field. Diaza on the run, and he makes the catch. So Dozier has to go back to first base as Alejandro got a good jump.
Looks like a lot of the Minnesota Twins, especially the right-handed hitters, are really trying to go up the middle of the right field right there, because if he'd have turned on that, he might have hit that out of the ballpark, but he didn't. He did what most good hitters would do. You want to stay with it, and right now with Quintana not establishing that inside pitch, they feel pretty free with that changeup and that fastball middle away to probably go out that way with him. That might be their game plan early in the game.
Oswaldo Arcia at 252, 12 home runs, 35 driven in.
This guy's strong.
He's very strong, but he's been swinging at a lot of pitches up and out of the zone. Soft throw to first base just to remind him that he knows he's over there.
Well, sometimes when it's a young team, you got a strong man like this, you just got to cut him loose, let him be as aggressive as you possibly can. I know he's striking out a lot, but, 12 home runs, 35 RBIs, hitting 250 is not too bad for a young guy.
Now, in 30 extra base hits this year, tied among all the American League rookies. He's hit 4 of his 12 home runs against our Sox, so he hasn't minded what generally has been a pretty good pitching staff this year.
Yeah, and a lot of left-handers.
Count evens at 1-1.
Sometimes that's kind of a way you want to look at a young hitter, is how well he hangs in there against left-handed pitching. And it doesn't mean it's always results. It's just how you observe him as a hitting coach sitting on the bench and see where his shoulder is and how long he stays in. And if he gives in too quick to left-handers, I think it's a great indication. Forgetting the numbers that we've been shooting at you, 252, it's just how well he handles left-handers.
Bat shatters. Beckham, bare hand over to first. He had plenty of time, and he got him. So they get a hit, but nothing else. And we'll head to the bottom of the first inning in a scoreless game. Cieto at the top, then Dunn, Konerko, and Danks in the middle, with Beckham, Phegley, and Semien rounding it out. The defense and how they'll line up behind Mike Pelfrey. It's Willingham, Mastroianni, and Arcia in the outfield, with Plouffe, Florimon, Dozier, and Colabello in the infield. Josemiel Pinto behind the plate, and our Lexus Pursuing Perfection starting pitcher is Mike Pelfrey. Now for his 28th start, he's 5-12, the ERA up over 5. Not a strikeout pitcher these days. He is a sinker baller. Lately, the ball has been sinking for him. And the one thing that's remained consistent is he works very slowly. That one misses down. And De Aza comes in hitting .261, 15 home runs, 59 driven in. Good fastball for a strike.
Well, it looks like the Twins picked him up from I believe the New York Mets. Had a pretty good year in 2010 with 15 wins, 9 losses.
That fastball misses up. And Pelfrey, 55 and 66 lifetime with an ERA of 4.5. At one point, the Mets thought that he was going to be everything for them. Ground ball easily played. Dozier throw to first, and he's got him. That'll bring up Alexei Ramirez, who certainly loves these Twins. Hitting .285 overall with 5 home runs, 46 driven in. 4 of his 5 home runs have come against these Twins.
And actually last night he went 4 for 5.
Little chopper out in front of the plate. Tough play. Pelfrey's got it. Fires to first, and they get him. That is a very dangerous play for a first baseman.
Well, that was very dangerous right there. Pelfrey jumps in the ball. He makes the throw, but he threw it right into the runner. When you do something like that, that'll tear out your shoulder pretty quick. But he comes off the mound. You see him right here. He immediately jumps in the ball. He barehands it. That's the main thing you want to do. And hopefully you want that throw on the outside part of the bag and on the inside. So it's a good thing that Colabello got out of the way. Could have cost him his shoulder.
And Viciedo hitting in the 3 spot tonight. Looks at a fastball for a strike. They brought in Pelfrey as a free agent, thinking that he could stabilize the starting rotation. And he's picked up a lot of innings, but not a great deal of success to this point. Here's our Farmers Insurance picks to click. And I have Jordan Danks this evening. Hawk and Bill, the combination, has Diane Viciedo. And the crew is taking Josh Phegley. Outfield straightaway. And a high chopper over the head of Colabello and into right field for a base hit.
Well, you kind of wait for Viciedo to kind of lay off some of those high pitches. I know that's one of his weak points. But as you can see right here, there's not much he doesn't like up there. But I like the way he goes to right field with a lot of authority. Thought that home run last night, Stoney, was really something pretty special. Is why we talk about him so much, the way the ball comes off his bat.
Well, last night he had 2 hits, a walk, scored 3 runs, and hit that line drive rocket out to right center. So Adam Dunn comes in at .220, 32 home runs, 83 driven in. He hit one way out of the ballpark last night. In fact, that was the first of the back-to-back home runs in the 4th inning. A 7-run first inning, the first time that's happened all year. And a 2-run 4th pretty much put it away for the Sox. And that one misses down. So Pelfrey was a big right-hander. You would expect him at 6'7", 250 to have a blazing fastball. He was a #1 draft pick of the New York Mets. And at that time, that fastball was pretty good. But these days, through a lot of injuries, he's become a sinker baller. I'm not sure if Ted Barrett saw that ball, but it was right down the middle. And he called it a ball. And Pelfrey's just shaking his head. Menard's pitch tracks. Not sure how you missed that, but he did. And that one almost right on top of the other one, called a strike. You didn't mind when an umpire made a call like that, did you?
No, I used to like to hit in the 0-2 situations. I had such bat control and stuff like that. 0-2 is, I thought I had him in the driver's seat.
Line drive, base hit. Here comes Viciedo. Arcia going to get it in the corner, gets it back in. Joe McEwing has to hold Diane there. And Adam Dunn with a ringing base hit just inside the line. And Arcia got to it so quickly that Adam couldn't go to second.
Well, you see right here, Arcia got to the ball really quick, and that was the key to this whole play right here. Even though Viciedo's got above average speed and there's 2 outs and he's running on contact right there, just got to give credit to the right fielder for getting in and getting into the cutoff man. Now with a man on first and third, you got your captain.
And Paulie hitting .247, 11 home runs, 52 driven in. Last night had a base hit and a run batted in that 7-run first. Outfield playing him straight away. 66 degrees at game time, so a very cool evening here in Chicago. And that misses low and away. My partner Ken Harrelson a little under the weather tonight, so Bill Melton was called upon late. They went to the bench, got a pretty good pinch hitter, and now, well, all you got to do is perform, big boy.
Well, I kind of got pinch hit for a lot in my career toward the end, so this is no surprise.
That evens the count at 1-1. Well, it's a great view from up here.
Yeah, it really is. You know, we came out to the ballpark tonight. We're normally not out here, but I think the Cub game's on a Plus channel or something with Comcast. So they sent Chuck Garfien and myself out here this evening. Otherwise than that, you'd have probably been going solo, and I think you've done that before. And
well, if I had a choice of solo or Chuck, that's an easy one.
I got you. There you go.
But you, that's a different story. That one right off Paul's foot. Is that fastball tailing inside on him?
Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty good movement by Pelfrey right there. A lot of times a veteran pitcher, Stoney, and you know it as your career went on, you start making those adjustments when you're used to throwing 95 miles an hour and getting it by guys, and all of a sudden it's not there. You try to develop something either with another team or in spring training, and generally it's either a split finger or try to get more movement on your pitch. I mean, that's why he's lasting a little bit longer in the big leagues.
Well, Pelfrey's knocking at the door 150 innings. Not bad for a guy that had Tommy John surgery May 1st of last year. One and two count, 2 outs here in the first inning, runners at the corners, and it's a scoreless game. And that one fouled back.
You know, you talk about Tommy John surgery, and then we can talk about Gavin Floyd. I think nowadays, I remember I played when Tommy John was having his surgery, but I think right now, and you should know as a pitcher, I think you come back now with the type of the medical work they do and the medicine they have, that they can get these guys back. And actually, I think their arms sometimes are even stronger than when it happened.
I think a lot of guys come back much stronger than when they left, as far as the curveball and slider are concerned. And Paulie fouls off another one. That's why teams, they used to be deathly afraid of that particular surgery, and it's not the case anymore. And now teams will trade for guys who have already had Tommy John surgery, knowing the farther they are away from the surgery, the better that pitcher is going to be, the stronger his arm is going to be, the better the curveball or the slider. And so the thing with Gavin is he's going to be a free agent, and that first year coming back from Tommy John, you know, it's a question of the Sox really gambling and what they're going to do. And of course that remains to be seen, depending on, number one, how much money there is to spend. Number two, what the rotation is going to look like. Rick Hahn, I think you would have to agree, Bill, has a lot of decisions to make this offseason.
Yeah, this is a major task for Rick Hahn, but you know, he came through on a couple of trades already earlier. They tried to come in with a couple of fastballs to Paulie, moved it in there. He tried to throw a slider away. Yeah, he's confronted with a major task. He's got a rebuilding thing here. It could be not a total rebuilding. He's got a lot of young guys to choose from. I think his best starting point is the fact that he does have 5 or 6 guys that are young, 25 and under. You know, 4 of them are left-handers, but they've had a lot of experience up here. I think that really helps when you can walk in with a little above-average pitching staff when you talk about experience.
He got him. So the Sox leave a couple men on, and at the end of 1, there is no score.
Sox fans, join us on Saturday, September 28th for Craft Beer Night presented by Miller Coors. A limited number of tickets are available for this private event where you can sample a variety of domestic and imported beers prior to the start of the game. Purchase tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/craft.
Ryan Dumit steps in, hitting .239, 13 home runs. He's driven in 52, and he's a switch hitter who's much more effective from the right side. It's .282 as a right-hand hitter, .221 as a left-hand hitter. And he was one of their 4 catchers to suffer a concussion this year. So it's really become a problem, so much so that they're talking about Joe Mauer maybe moving full-time to first base. Now, Ron Gardner said that he would like to see him come back for at least a few at-bats this year to put to rest some of the question marks that are swirling around him. What do you think about Mauer moving to first?
Well, I think it's fine. I'm a little bit surprised that one team can be nixed so many times with a concussion. I didn't know Mauer had one. I remember I read about it 3 or 4.
A couple of them.
A couple of them,
yeah.
Okay. And, you know, we saw Murnau come back, not real strong.
That one sliced down the line, going foul.
I mean, when you're a lifetime 320, 330 hitter, and you know, he really doesn't have the power. You know, he was so good behind the plate, and he threw a lot of guys out. I think, you know, when you move him to first base, you're going to want a little more power out of him. But I think he hits the ball too well. A lot of extra base hits. I don't have a problem with that if they got somebody that can play a little bit of behind the plate. Maybe put him a couple of days back there.
But one of the big things you have to take into consideration, as we all know this day, you've got long-term contracts.
Yeah,
his contract goes through 2018, and it's in the neighborhood of $20 million a year. Last thing they want, and he's still suffering the ill effects of the concussion even now as we speak. So you don't want to see that continue, and Mauer's had a few in his time. 2-2 pitch, and it's fouled off by Dumit.
I think what I don't like to see is one of the better hitters in the game go out this way. I hope he does come back. I hope he's successful. Yeah, do we play them 18, 19 times? Sure. But when you got such a pure hitter like that, I mean, it's, you know, that's what fans come out to see. You know that. I mean, you want to see a hitter like that. I wanted to see Tony Oliva, Rod Carew, and I think the Minnesota fans need a Joe Mauer.
That one right back up the middle, into center field for a base hit. Well, of course you wanted to see Tony Oliva and Rod Carew because you didn't have to face him and try to get him out.
And I didn't have to play him in when they were bunting, except for Rod Carew. I could play back on Tony Oliva. Well, Quintana right there kind of whiffed on that one. I thought maybe he might have had that. We didn't see the replay on that, but that's all right.
Josh Willingham hitting .212, 14 home runs, 48 driven in. He had some knee surgery. He's coming off just a great year. He had 35 home runs last year, drove in 110. And you can tell that that knee has really affected his swing and just about everything else about his offense. Pops that one straight up in the air. So Paul drifting with it, and he makes the play. What would that mean to a hitter? A guy who had such a big year last year, the biggest year by far of his career. Now you have knee surgery. What does that mean to a hitter not to have that solid base?
Well, any kind of major surgery on any part of your body kind of changes your muscles, or what muscles you use. It doesn't change your muscles. I remember my back surgery, even though I had no pain and I felt good, and I told everybody, geez, I feel great. I had changed my swing because what happens is certain muscles take over for injured areas, and his thigh muscle or whatever, and whatever stride he used to make and how he used to land will automatically change during the injury part of it. And then after they fix it, you got to make sure all those muscles are loose so you go back to the same way. So it might take him another year.
That was Mio Pinto. And this is a young man that is slated to do a whole lot of catching for them if Joe Mauer goes on to play first base.
Does Willingham remind you a little bit about the Oakland A's, the current Oakland A's lineup? Like every year they find somebody different, like Donaldson, or you know what I'm saying? It's hard to. I don't even know who the starting nine is.
Line drive, base hit to center, and Diaz gets it on a hop. Dumit's going to have to stay at second base. So Pinto's looked pretty good in this series, swinging the bat.
Well, he has. You can see right here that Jose tried to do a little cutter, I think, on the outside corner. I would think he was trying to get it on his hands. He wasn't able to do it. And Pinto just gets the head of the bat out there really quick and hits the ball right back up the middle. The Twins are taking the approach like I think you should against a guy like Quintana. Up the middle, right field, and then if he starts beating the inside, you got to learn to turn on it.
Chris Colabello hitting 196, 7 home runs, 16 driven in, and he is a right center field hitter. He's got some pop. And he looks at a breaking ball for a strike. One out, 2 on here in the top of the second inning. It's a scoreless game. Twins have 3 singles. And a good stop by Josh Phegley.
Well, no question, this is the perfect time to get that double play ball, but I don't think he really has that changeup down and a way to do it. You said this, he likes to go to right field. Well, if he had that changeup working right now, that'd be a perfect double play situation. Then you could go Beckham to Ramirez for the double play if he had that changeup working.
Well, he's rounded into 5 double plays this year. And he throws that fastball by him inside. So Josh Phegley set up in there and he threw it right to the glove.
Well, you know, as a pitcher, that's exactly what you want to do when you know a guy goes to right field really well, and you see him and you think he's going that way because he's underneath the ball, and then all of a sudden you got that cutter, that fastball right in his hands. And I think that's where Quintana has really stepped it up this year as far as both sides of the plate.
Outfield straight away, infield about halfway, looking for 2 if Colabello does hit the ball on the ground. He doesn't have much speed, so he is a perfect double play target.
You see Beckham cheating towards second base a little bit.
And he takes a fastball for a strike. Perfect pitch. And Colabello looking for anything but that.
That's exactly what it was. It was not only a perfect pitch, but he was looking for something different, trying to go the other way, trying to not only advance the runner at first to third base, but trying to get a base hit and score a run. And he got beat right there by Quintana. Good pitch.
Pedro Florimon steps up. He's also a switch hitter, hitting .227 overall with 8 home runs, 40 driven in. He's a much better hitter as a left-hand hitter. All 8 of his home runs have come as a lefty. He's hitting just 187 as a right-hand hitter with 10 of his 30 runs batted in. And he looks at a fastball off the corner. There you see the disparity in the two sides. In the new genre of sabermetrics, Florimon has the best range of any shortstop in the American League.
And you know what? That's what general managers are looking at now, and your development people and your baseball people. It is the norm. You know, when you and I were playing, it wasn't around, but I think there's some parts of it I think where you can really evaluate a player probably a little bit better than you did in the past. I still think you have to watch him play in person and watch him, you know, during games and scout him the right way. But a lot of times when you look back during the season, a lot of that sabermetrics does work.
Well, Pedro has 16 errors this year in 124 games. 2-0 pitch, and he misses on the outside corner, so the count goes to 3-0. Aaron Mastroianni in the on-deck circle.
I think you and I talked a lot about the White Sox in the middle infield last year, not so much this year. How few errors they made, but they also had terrific range. So that really came into play, and the good arms to turn double plays, how important it is.
That fastball right down the middle.
And I remember when Juan Uribe was playing second base, and we were turning a lot of double plays, and you had to give him a lot of credit for the fact he had one of the most powerful arms from second base and turning double plays.
Line drive right at Beckham. So despite a couple of hits, they're left stranded. We'll head into the bottom of the second, and it's still scoreless. Linebacker will take you inside last week's matchup from a player's perspective and tell you what's on his mind as the Bears ready for battle with the Steelers. The Lance Briggs Show presented by GWC Law tonight at 11 on Comcast Sportsnet. Jordan Dinks steps up. He's hitting .256, 4 home runs, 9 driven in. He had a double that just missed going out of the ballpark in the second inning last night, and then in the 6th inning, he hit a long 2-run homer. So lately, Jordan Dinks is trying to make a statement that he is ready for prime time. Fastball up in the zone, thrown right by him.
And I think this last time that he was sent down and brought up, Stoney, I think he looks a little bit more comfortable at the plate. He does have holes in the swing. We know what they are and stuff like that. But I think now, maybe in the offseason and coming down to spring training next year, he has a pretty good idea what he needs to do from the beginning.
That one misses up. Count even at 1-1. In a big game in Tampa, Texas leading Tampa Bay 6-1 that game in the top of the 6th inning. And that changeup fouled off. Boston leading Baltimore 2-0 that game in the top of the 5th in Boston. Kansas City leading the Indians 1-0 that game in the top of the 3rd. That's what it looks like in the American League. The Rays with a game lead. The Rangers just hanging in there, just a half game ahead of the Indians. Count goes full. Gordon Beckham in the on-deck circle. Lifted to left field. Willingham on the run. Slicing away from him, and he can't make the play. It's a long way to run for a guy that has had recent knee surgery.
Yeah, it was. It almost looks like he kind of pulled up on it right there. So, you know, it takes more than a year to come back almost 100% from any type of an injury, and you're always a little bit tentative on the knee. I think it affects you more when you're sliding. You get a little more tentative on the slide than you do worrying about running after a ball. But pretty soon you have to just forget about it and pretend like it didn't happen.
He got him. Jordan looking at an inside corner fastball. A strikeout victim, the second for Pelfrey.
Well, they really set him up for this right here. You see the ball come back. That's down and in. That's just really a pitcher's pitch. Not much you can do. A little bit surprised that Jordan didn't swing at that. He likes that low one right there, and that's the one he can hit 400 feet.
Gordon Beckham hitting .264, 4 home runs, 22 driven in. And he looks at a fastball inside. Gordon had a base hit, drove in a run in the first inning last night. Went 1 for 3 with a walk. Fastball caught the outside corner, and the count evens at 1-1.
Looks a little bit like Pelfrey is kind of giving into the fact he doesn't have that 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Looks like he's working both sides of the plate.
Well, he occasionally hangs a breaking ball, which is, you know, a sign of a guy that arm probably is not quite as strong as it will be as he comes back next year. He kind of shakes his head. He realizes that he got very fortunate to get away with that mistake. And Gordon fouls back another very good pitch to hit.
You know, most guys in the big leagues are here because they hit pitchers' mistakes. You know, there's very few Frank Thomases that can actually hit good pitching. Most guys, you know, you have to take advantage of when a curveball rolls up there, or a pitch is not really in tight on your hands or anything, and that's how you stay here. Hit mistakes. Yeah, I did make a living. I was waiting for you to say I made a living hitting a lot of mistakes, but that's all right.
No, I mean you're supposed to do that.
Yeah,
because a real good pitcher is making excellent pitches on you. You're just probably not going to do real well. Breaks his bat, loops it into center field for a base hit. That's really one of the biggest things that you'll see is you see Gordon just fisting this ball out to center field. But there's not a lot of guys that make a living like Miguel Cabrera, hitting the 1s and 2s in the rotation, hitting any pitch you can throw him. Most of the guys make a living on 3, 4s, and 5s and middle relievers.
Well, Cabrera would have taken that pitch right there, and his hands are so quick, and he had such a short swing. That's the pitch that he would hit to left field out of the ballpark. Gordon's doing it the right way. You have to stay in, and you have to take your knocks with your broken bats and you know, your broken bat base hits up the middle into right field before you got that authority to really turn on a ball.
The only problem with Cabrera is recently, because of the injuries, hasn't hit a home run since the 27th of August.
What a hitter.
And they're a little concerned about him in Detroit, because if they don't have him at the top of his game, it's not going to help him very much in the playoffs. Two and 0 count. Josh Phegley hitting .227, 4 home runs, 22 driven in.
Well, Pelfrey's really beating up the corners, which is good. That's what he really has to do. And he's, again, like Quintana, pitching to both sides of the plate. Kind of affects you as a hitter. You don't know which zone to look to.
Short lead at first by Beckham. And that one out of the zone. You find young hitters do that more than a veteran. That pitch way out of the zone. He's looking fastball 2-0, so he gets a fastball and swings at it anyway.
The giveaway is the fact he's looking fastball and he gets it. He doesn't know it's going to be in a pitcher's place where the pitcher wants to put it. He has to learn to, either lay off a pitch like that. Anything above the belt with any kind of velocity, Steve, as you know, that's a tough pitch for any right-handed hitter to hit. There's some good high ball hitters. A lot of right-handers are good high ball hitters, but anytime you throw 92, 93 up there, it's tough to get your bat on it.
Base hit right field. Beckham on his way to third. Garcia gets it back to the infield, and that puts runners at the corners. Only one out here in the bottom of the second.
Well, Gordon Beckham read that exactly right. When he saw the ball hit, he knew exactly where he had to wind up at third base. You see Phegley. You see Josh hit a lot of balls on the end of his bat. And again, I like the fact that they're trying to go to right field, trying maybe to hit up the middle. A lot of times they jam themselves. But right there, again, it's better than a strikeout. We've seen a lot of the young guys too aggressive in striking out. It's nice to just put the ball in play.
Marcus Semien hitting .333. He's driven in a run. And he's looked pretty good since coming up. And he looks at a fastball up and in. From what you've seen of this guy, looks like he's got a pretty good idea.
Yeah, what I like about him, again, let's not look at the average now. I like the way he kind of attacks the ball. In other words, last night he got a base hit on a breaking ball. Was it a hanging breaking ball? Yeah, but he stayed back on it and he used his hands and he hit it pretty good to left field. And that's what you kind of see. This guy was the MVP of the Southern League.
Base hit left field. 1-0 Sox. And Semien drives in his second run of the year.
Well, again, it's a young man making contact, and he's doing with men in scoring position, and that's the thing that you really want to see in the way you affect Rick Hahn up there in the press box or wherever he's sitting tonight. But this is what you need to do, is come up with some hits with men in scoring position. I think, Stoney, we didn't do it very well at all this year, is why we're where we're at. And, when a young man comes up and do that, kind of sets a seed in the general manager's mind.
Brings up Alejandro Diaz, who grounded out last inning. 2 on, 1 out. 3 straight hits against Mike Pelfrey. And that one fouled off to the left. Detroit leading Seattle 2-1. That game in the bottom of the 6th inning. One misses inside. Interesting for Kansas City tonight. Danny Duffy, talented left-hander, had an arm problem. And they brought up a young man named Ventura, who throws upwards of 99 miles an hour, sometimes hits 100. But he's 22 years old, getting his first major league start for Kansas City. This is must win against the Indians. And so far, he's shutting the Indians out into the bottom of the 3rd inning. Changeup misses away. I saw him pitch in spring training. He's one of those guys that you look at. He's maybe 5'11", maybe touching 6 feet tall, 160 pounds, with a whippet-like arm, and the ball just jumps out of his arm. We saw another pitcher for the Cleveland Indians, right, Danny Salazar, that had very similar stuff.
Wonder where these short guys are getting all that.
Well, they could find the answer to that.
No, but Kansas City has a lot of short pitches. Let's be honest. They guys come out of that bullpen.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, that's just all about leverage. I mean, it's impressive to me. I mean, you know, today's athletes are better. There's no question about it. We might have 1 or 2 or 3 good ones when we played, and here they have 25 guys that are pretty athletic and do a lot of things we couldn't do. Well, he must have some kind of movement on his pitches because he's got all our hitters kind of backing off and lifting up. And generally that means you got a ball coming back over the, you think it's not going to come back over the plate, but he's got a lot of movement. He's able to do that.
3-2 pitch, 2 on, 1 out. Fly ball center field. Mastroianni almost in his tracks. And he'll throw to third, but not in time. Good piece of base running by Josh Pheglin.
Sox fans, bring your family to the ballpark for all our new Family Sundays presented by the University of Chicago Medicine Comer Children's Hospital. Tickets start as low as $5 and parking is just $10. Former players from the 1983 team will be in attendance, and activities for the kids include pregame player autographs and postgame run around the bases. The White Sox and Comer Children's Hospital teaming up to promote a healthy lifestyle and combat childhood obesity. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com or calling 866-SOX-GAME. That's 866-SOX-GAME.
Lexi Ramirez, who hit one right back to Pelfrey last inning. Fouls this one off to the left. Now this year, Ramirez has absolutely killed the Twins. In your big years, did you have one team that for some reason that whole pitching staff you just matched up real well with?
You know, actually I did, and I don't get me wrong when I say this because these guys were really good pitchers, but I had Dick Williams hated me, and the reason he hated me because I used to hit the Oakland Athletics as hard as anybody, and you know who that staff was. So I would say the Oakland A's I hit probably better and more comfortably off of Catfish Hunter and Vita Blue and guys like that until they brought in Raleigh Fingers, and it was all over for me. But that's the only time I ever really felt comfortable and had a lot of confidence as a hitter.
Pinto got hit on the hand, and it was on the backswing of Ramirez. We've seen him do this to a couple of catchers, and that's the last thing that the Twins want to see. Number one, Pinto is one of their hopes, and number two, they've had so many problems filling that spot behind the plate that Pelfrey puts his hand behind his head and said, "I'm glad it was you, kid, not me."
Well, you know, Alexi's a pretty free swinger.
Yeah.
And a lot of times he's off balance. And that happens an awful lot. He hits an awful lot of catchers. If I was a catcher and had a catch with Alexi Ramirez up, I might have to back up a little bit. I might have to concede. I'd have to go out and tell my pitcher, let me back up about 3 feet.
2 outs, runners in scoring position. Ramirez has been very good this year, hitting .308. And runners to corners. The 0-1 pitch fouled off to the left. Well, you were one of the few. Not many guys hit that Oakland staff. They were very good. They had a lot of guys that had pinpoint control. And Raleigh Fingers would not be in the Hall of Fame if he was easy to hit. So you're not the Lone Ranger there.
Well, I know, but I mean, you don't generally turn a manager to dislike you that much just because you hit a couple of his pitchers. They only won 3 World Series in a row.
Well, that being said, Dick Williams didn't like a whole lot of people, so don't worry about that.
I actually always found it better to hit off of guys that I could kind of think with a little bit. You know, it's always good no matter how much what a pitcher has. If you can kind of figure out how he's going to work you a little bit, that you got a little better idea. And I think that's what I did against Oakland. Not that I guessed slider, not that I guessed breaking ball, but I knew the counts, what they were going to try to get me out with, and I was pretty successful at going after it.
Well, they had a veteran staff, too, that could hit the corners, and you had a pretty good idea they were going to throw it in the zone. 0-2 pitch. And he misses low and away.
You know, actually, when you talk about control, that's, you know, exactly what you had with that big curveball you had in the fastball. But you could pinpoint it, and that's why it's so much more difficult, I think, to hit today, because you really can't think with these guys. They got 3-1 sliders coming, split fingers 3-0. But at least we had an opportunity to swing the bat in those days.
Outfield straight away. And he misses with a slider low and away. So that evens the count at 2-2. It's a 1-0 game. Sox have out-hit the Twins 5-3. It's been an errorless game to this point. 5 singles in the first inning and 2/3 against Pelfrey. Count stays at 2-2.
Again, you see Alexei pretty much falling out or almost falling over after each swing. I know that's being aggressive, and I know he's hitting 290, but it amazes me sometimes when you can be that far out of control and still hit.
I think he likes what he sees at Pelfrey and realizes that he probably can't throw the ball by him in the strike zone on the inner portion of the plate. Fights that ball off as Pelfrey tried to throw it by him, but it's about 5 rows back in the seats. And now Alexei lost control of the bat. It goes back to the screen.
See the movement of that pitch coming back in on his hands. And I think that's what Pelfrey's doing. He's working it out. He's working it in. He's got that movement, and it's a tough way to figure him out right now in a 2-2 pitch.
"32nd pitch of the inning, 51st pitch of the night. And he misses. So Semien will be off with the pitch, which is a pretty big advantage if you hit the ball in the hole. One of the reasons you don't want to go to 3-2 with a guy with any kind of speed at all at first base.
Well, what you're doing is exactly what the Twins are doing on this particular count. You see the second baseman back on the grass, shortstop at the grass. You really play as deep as you can, because it's either going to be a walk or, you know, anything on the ground. They got a chance to cut it off and flip it to second base.
Runner goes, and it's ball 4. So the first walk of the night extends the inning, loads the bases, and brings up Dayan Viciedo, who had a base hit last inning. Time now for AT&T Uverse Multiview. And a meeting at the mound with Pelfrey and Rick Anderson, who's had a lot of trips to the mound this year because his pitching staff, it's safe to say they've been beleaguered.
Yeah, how do you feel about Rick Anderson as far as a pitching coach?
I think he's terrific, and I talked to Ron Gardner before the game today, and he told me that Rick Anderson has been there with him from the beginning. He wouldn't have anybody else. He trusts him implicitly, but it pretty much goes to say with Gardy also, if you don't have the horses, you can be the best pitching coach in the world. It doesn't really matter. Conversely, you have the Leo Mazzoni syndrome. He was a great pitching coach with the starters in Atlanta when he had Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz, and Avery. Somehow he didn't bring it with him to Baltimore. Viciedo with a good healthy cut fouls it straight back.
Yeah, I just really kind of marvel at the Minnesota Twins in the past, but over the last 10 years is how effective their pitching staffs are in throwing strikes. I mean, they generally lead the American League in the least amount of walks in baseball. And I think that's attributed a lot maybe to the pitching coach. I'm not really sure. Or baseball development. They let guys go down if they can't throw strikes. I don't know which is the stronger suit.
I think the latter of what you just mentioned. And that is when you came to the Twins, the one thing you had to do was throw strikes. With that in mind, they didn't have guys with overwhelming stuff, but they had guys that threw everything around the plate, and they had them for years. And in the dome, where you didn't see the ball quite as well, they were much more effective than when you got them outside. Count goes to 2-1. Is Pelfrey having all kinds of trouble throwing it in the zone?
Well, I think Pelfrey knows that if he gets anything anywhere close, that a guy like Viciedo has that vicious swing, and he's actually hit the Minnesota Twins pretty well. So I think he's trying to maybe be a little bit too fine. He's got his infield playing pretty deep.
Pops that ball straight up. Colabello comes over, but it drifts on top of the dugout. So Viciedo will have another life.
Yeah, I think Viciedo caught a break right there with that ball going foul.
Pelfrey probably not long for this game. About ready to deliver pitch number 57. And we are not through the second yet. The bases loaded, 2 outs here, 1 run in, and a chance for a few more.
There's a pitch up and away, probably.
It's inside and by him. But a run on 3 hits and leave the bases loaded.
Miller Lite on Friday, September 27th at 7:10. Specially priced tickets, including lower level seats, for only $10. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com NHH. That's whitesox.com NHH.
Good fastball for a strike. So Mastroianni grounded out to Gordon Beckham. Hit the ball pretty well in the first inning. Took a funny hop. Line drive, base hit. Texas continues to lead in the top of the 7th, and a lot of rumors swirling around the Texas Rangers on the future of their manager, Ron Washington. But John Daniels, the general manager, said today that he fully expects Ron Washington to be back in 2014. And with the Rangers really missing Nelson Cruz and falling on some terribly hard times, it's still not too late to right the ship. And I think for Ron Washington, that vote of confidence probably was something he needed. Dozier looks at one down. He had a line drive base hit in the first inning.
Well, they also have a very hot team in the Oakland A's. I think you got to put that in the pot in consideration. You got a ball club out there in the West Coast that is really playing terrific baseball, good pitching, getting the right kind of hitting. I think they're 6.5 or 7 games up on Texas now. But again, the wild card, that's what makes it so unique and so different.
Well, Oakland has been just otherworldly. They've won 16 of their last 20. They're 6.5 games over Texas at this point. So when you have that kind of a streak, especially when you go in and sweep Texas in Texas, you're going to be able to pull away. The Rangers are 2-12 in the month of September. Chopper to shortstop, over to second for one. Quick throw to first, and he's safe. He pulled him off the bag. And that's something, Bill, we have not been used to for Gordon Beckham. He's had some problems throwing to first.
He has had problems throwing to first, and last year that would have been pretty much routine. That was a good feed by Ramirez, and when Gordon was there in plenty of time. You just, I don't know if it's on his throwing hand, that wrist problem. I think it's on his left hand and not his throwing hand, but you got to give the twin base runner Mastriani a little bit of credit right there for going after Gordon Beckham pretty good. So let's give him a credit there. And like you said, you don't see that too often with Gordon Beckham, especially last year.
Trevor Plouffe, who hit the ball very hard but lined out to Diaz in the first inning, and runner going, and Fegley cannot get the handle. So a stolen base by Dozier. We told you that he was one of their premier base stealers. That's his 12th stolen base of the year. That puts him second on the club.
Well, you can see right there, that's just too good of a jump. There's not much Fegley could have done, even if he gets off a good throw right there. A lot of times I think the White Sox pitchers get in this routine of not paying much attention to base runners, where I think, last year they had that problem, but they worked on it and they were a lot better. This year, on occasion, especially left-handers, a guy should not get that kind of jump off any left-hander.
Into right field, and this is trouble. Plouffe on his way to second base. The game is tied at 1 as Trevor Plouffe drives in run number 50. So the hottest of all the Twins in September continues his hot hitting.
Yeah, and this is what happens and what's happened to the White Sox this year. This is where the double play, had you turned the double play, you wouldn't have had this problem. You'd had a man on second and 2 outs. Nice piece of hitting right here again. A lot of no names right here, much like the White Sox and their young players. These guys are trying to do it the right way, going to right field.
I think, Bill, you hit it right on the head in that this is not going to show up in the stats. It's going to go as an earned run against Quintana. But it's also going to cost him another out this inning, as well as this run. And it's the plays you don't make as damaging as the plays that you make mistakes on. In other words, if you make an error, well, that's one thing. But this is not going to show up in the scorebook because it's a play you didn't make.
Well, this is something I think we talk about the pre and the post game. This is something in the post game I would be able to bring up and lay it out a little bit for our viewers.
Yeah, but you can't do that now because you already did it.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that's something I would normally do.
You have to put this away now.
Was it over with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Which pocket? Which one do you want me to put it in? I'm going to save that. That's actually a pearl. I might use that at the end of the game.
Okay.
Okay.
Oswaldo Arcia, who grounded out to end the first inning.
Well, I have to justify 17 no decisions.
That's true, and that is a bucket full of them. That ball fouled off, and it's 1-2.
Well, there's some guys up there in Suite 247 or wherever they're sitting in the baseball department that know and think like you and I are talking right here. That they understand we can't be looking at pitchers' records this year based on their no decisions or the fact they only won 10 games when they should have run 18. That's kind of a team effort right there, and I think all baseball people see that part of it.
Outfield straight away. And he tried to throw that high fastball by Arcia, something that a lot of the American League teams have been doing to the young Venezuelan. He's got a chance, but he's one of those guys that came up, looked really good, and then the league made the adjustment to him, and all of a sudden he's going to have to make that adjustment back. Well,
we're going to see that in our young player Garcia when he comes back. You're we'll just see how they make those adjustments. That's when you can tell they're going to be good major league players.
Threw that high fastball by him. So he had a pretty good game plan against Arcia and made it work.
Well, you see it right here. You know, any left-handed hitter, notoriously low ball hitters, you only have to drop the head of the bat, so it gets there a lot quicker. But your eyes are huge, like saucers, when you see them up around your eyes. And, you know, that's actually one of the tougher pitches to hit, anything above those letters or that number on his jersey with any kind of velocity on it, because you swing at it, and generally they're not strikes.
Ryan Dummett, who had a base hit to lead off the second inning, and he looks at a fastball inside.
Now, I would say that's how you used to set up your curveball, the downer. Make sure their eyes are up on the fastball, put it up there, and then when they see that curveball, it's something you can't react to right away.
Well, it helped being a high fastball pitcher,
right,
because they both looked like they were coming out of the same spot. And I think that's of critical importance. People talk about in and out, but changing the eye level of the hitter is really important. If I throw in the same spot, my slider, my curveball low and away, try to keep it low and away, and you're looking down there, if I throw a fastball low and away, I'm doing you a favor. But if I get you looking down and throw your fastball up, then suddenly changes your eye level, and now you're coming into my world.
Yeah, actually the pitch up, if it's not a fastball, is pretty easy to deal with. It's when it's a fastball, because you have a tendency to uppercut, and your bat has to be quicker above your letters. And you know, if you hit it 9 miles, you're not going to hit it 9 miles. You're going to hit a 375-foot fly ball. That's all you get out of it.
2 outs here in the third, a run home. It's a 1-1 game. Hits tied at 5. And a good curveball down, and Dummett with a very uncomfortable swing.
Yeah, and not to belabor the right-hander, you know, hitting the pitch down, but that's when you can throw the weight in the head of the bat, and you can keep your left shoulder in if you're a right-handed hitter, and you can drive the ball, and that's where you get the long home runs.
Klugh for the big lead out at second, and that fastball misses up. Evens the count at 2-2. The voice you're hearing is that of Bill Melton, legendary White Sox slugger. And my partner Ken Harrelson, a little under the weather, so Bill was kind enough to sit in for us tonight. We certainly thank him for that. He got him, but the Twins get a run. And as we head into the bottom of the third, it's tied at 1. Hit home run number 33. That broke a tie with Reggie Jackson and Norm Cash. As you can see, they were packing him in then for Bill.
It almost looked like yesterday's rain out. But you notice that was a low pitch, didn't you?
Yes.
That's where it has to be.
And
very nice.
The first White Sox slugger to lead the league in home runs. Boy, it seems like just yesterday.
You know, actually, Zeke Bernier was the only other slugger they really had. I was strange. They had nobody could hit home runs. They couldn't figure it out. So where'd this guy come from?
Adam Dunn with a base hit his first time up.
Well, this is why I like to watch young guys, because I was no phenom or anything, and I came up to the big leagues. Most home runs I hit the minor leagues was 6 ever. And so when you come up here and you develop as a player, that's why I like to watch the young guys and watch them develop, or try to watch them develop, because you can do it at this level. You have to do other things right. But generally my power came because guys were around the plate. I wasn't a free swinger. I learned how to lay off the breaking pitch, not hit it, but lay off of it.
3-0 count to Dunn. And another factor, it points out why scouts are so important.
Yeah.
A 3-1 count to Adam Dunn, because they can project power on a hitter. And, you know, in looking at you, I'm sure they saw a big guy who had a pretty good idea of the strike zone. And whether you were hitting home runs or not, they thought eventually you would get there, and of course you did.
Well, you have to take advantage of the opportunities you get, and that's why we talk about guys like Garcia and Jordan Danks. You talk about young guys like that, because, you know, this is a perfect time. I mean, I came up in late September like a lot of people do, and I did something in September. I actually hit 2 home runs. That was probably the most they had in 4 months when they first came up in '68, because they didn't have any home runs. And all of a sudden somebody said, boy, this guy's got enough power to hit him out. Maybe we'll, all right, that opened up the door, and I jumped through the door. That's all I could do.
Threw the fastball by him, so Dunn down on strikes. Well, that was not a particularly easy park to hit home runs. I mean, a lot of people talk about the balls up on the roof, that I think 12 or 13 guys did it. But for the most part, the old Comiskey Park was a difficult home run park.
Well, a lot of the ones on the roof came. I remember there was only 11 done in all of baseball history from 1900 on the roof. Dick Allen could hit them as far as anybody. He couldn't reach the roof. I think what happened in the 80s, they moved home plate out 10 feet because of the drainage problem, and that shortened the roof area and the distances at Old Comiskey Park. Because Roger Botcher, they had that drainage problem, and he just told Jerry, I can move home plate out 10 feet. It went from 354 to 340 something, but it was the alleys went from 385 down to 375, and guys were able. Now, there's some strong guys. Don't get me wrong. Ron Kill could hit them out of anywhere, but there was a lot of balls up there. I think Greg Luzinski hit quite a few up there. But even in batting practice, we used to go out there, Steve, and play around and say, in the southwest winds, let's try to hit the roof. I never saw anybody get up there. Tom Egan, one guy.
Ball struck out his first time up. And he looks at a fastball over the outside corner. The count goes to 1-2.
Well, he was pitched pretty good that first time up. A good slider away by Pelfrey. You know, I think Paul, he's been slapping that ball to right field and staying in the game. I don't think he really wants to turn on a lot of them just yet.
Fouled that one off to the right. 4 strikeouts for Pelfrey, which is a pretty high total for him. That being said, when you strike out more than you're used to, what happens is you throw more pitches than you're used to, and he's going to throw pitch number 70 with 1 out here in the 3rd inning. He threw it by him inside. April 17th of 1990, the last roof shot at Old Comiskey Park was Ron Kittle. He had 7 of them on the roof. This, the final one.
Well, that's one strong man there, and that's a long ways up there.
You had the most home runs at Old Comiskey Park, 88 home runs. Not bad. What'd you play there, 20 years?
That's what I told Frank Thomas. I says, one thing I got more than your 550 home runs or whatever you got. I got more home runs at the old ballpark than you'll ever have.
Little chopper right at third. Plouffe has got it. And that ends the inning. So we head to the top of the fourth. It's a 1-1 game. Doritos, Locos Tacos from Taco Bell, Live Más. In a 1-1 game with the hits tied at 5, Josh Willingham to lead it off in the top of the fourth inning. Willingham popped it up in the second.
What do you think really happened to Willingham this year? You think it really is the knee?
I believe that that's really the case. Because last year, in just watching him hit, he hit everything. I mean, he had big power, hit it to straightaway center, hit it to left, hit it to left center, and just was a damaging hitter.
Well, he reminded me a lot of a right-handed Justin Morneau.
I mean, he's a big, strong guy. He's 6'2", 230. Last year he hit 260, which is about maybe a little above career average for him, but 30 doubles. And we told you about the 35 and 110 on the power numbers.
That's the important part right there.
One and two count as he throws a little cutter on the inside part of the plate.
You think they'll keep him for another year? Is he signed for another year? Is he going to be a free agent? Or do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I can certainly find out. In fact, if you'll go up, Terry Ryan, the GM, is just down a couple of booths. Just bring him in to ask him about the contract status. And
you want a sandwich while I'm gone?
Sure, no problem.
Pick one up.
Yeah, thank you.
Good general manager.
He is signed through 2014. And Terry Ryan is terrific. And there's a base hit. So Quintana tried to go on the inside part of the plate, and Willingham kept him out of there.
Well, sometimes it's better to keep a guy like that in the ballpark if you're coming inside, and he did right there, probably with a cutter or some kind of fastball in on his hands. But last year you would have said, hey, that's fine. He didn't hit it out of the ballpark. He just gets, it's a little bit of a cutter right there, a little too much of the plate. Well, Willingham, if he's allowed to extend those arms like all power hitters, that's going to go up in the Xfinity area.
That was Miguel Pino, who had a line drive shot base hit in the second inning. Good fastball on the outside corner.
You know, a lot of times when you watch a young player like Marcus Semien over there at third base, not a third baseman, a lot of times you see him looking in the dugout to kind of position himself. You know, where do I play these players? Most of the time when you're new at this, Steve, you just want to play back. Don't worry about the speed.
That one just misses. Yeah, there's a couple of things that come into play. Number one, he doesn't know how the pitchers pitch. He doesn't know how the hitters hit. You're coming up here. You're in unfamiliar situations. He's getting his first shot at the major leagues. And he doesn't have much of an idea about where to set up. So obviously, with Joe McEwing, a good infield coach, I'm sure he's talked with Robin about exactly what to do. Robin, a great third baseman in his days. So he's got plenty of help. And he's got him. Good fastball for a strike. And Pinto called out.
Well, he set him up really good for this. You see that pitch down and away. That's what's really helped Quintana a lot. Now, if he had his changeup out there, I think he could really baffle a lot of these big right-handed hitters. Hasn't found it as of yet. He's had a couple of good ones, but that fastball right there, that'll freeze any hitter.
And the thing that has allowed it to be a one-run game is the fact that he hasn't walked anybody. Chris Colabello, who was caught looking in the second inning, one of the 4 Quintana strikeouts. Breaking ball misses down.
You know, I feel this way a lot of times with guys like Hector Santiago in the situation where you want a double play. If either one of these guys like Mark Burley had that good changeup down and away, you get an awful lot of double plays right there. And these guys are young, and that's a pitch I think they're going to find it's really going to benefit them as their careers go on if they can find that one pitch to get that double play and get them out of it.
I think one of the things, and you talk about the fact that the changeup hasn't come to him, the fact that the left side of the infield hasn't been busier with a left-hander who cuts the ball and has a good change is testament to the fact that the changeup isn't there yet. Because Mark Burley, if you were on the left side of the infield, you better get a good night's sleep because you were going to get a whole lot of work. Because most right-handers pull the changeup and then he'd cut the ball in and they'd also hit the ground balls to the left side.
Yeah, but you know, as an infielder, that's a lot of fun to play a game like that. It really is, when you can look in and see what the pitch is and you know how your pitcher's working and you kind of anticipate. You know, good defenders on the defensive side anticipate what the guy's going to throw and where it might be.
How important was it for the pitcher to work quickly? I think you would have loved to work behind Mark Burley.
I'd have loved to have been behind Mark Burley. I was behind Jim Cott, the big left-hander that there was less than a second in between pitches, and one time I turned my back and he had already thrown a pitch. That's the extreme, but I like I like the fact that Wilbur Wood, you know, and guys like you with the off-speed stuff. A lot of times with the off-speed stuff, you feel good as an infielder. You know, it's really important. I can't stress it enough. Is how fast a pitcher works. You give me a good rhythm, and you're going to find the best plays made behind you. And a lot of times it doesn't allow you to sit out there and think too much about it or where you are. You're just in a rhythm of a game, and I think that's what a lot of Mark Burley's success was.
3-1 pitch with one out here in the 4th inning. And this is pitch number 70 for Jose Quintana. So both pitchers piling up the pitches. Oh, the count goes full.
Well, for Quintana, this I know I read where he wanted to get about 200 innings in this year, and he's probably not going to do it. But, you know, you start getting a little bit tired. You know, as a pitcher, when you get into the middle part of September and you have a lot of your couple of your minor league guys up here looking for a shot at a start, that a lot of times they'll look at you and go, you know, Rob might say tonight, you know, 100 pitches, 110's enough. You know, whether it's 6 innings, 5 innings, or 8 innings. You know, we're trying to build this team now for next year.
3-2 pitch, and it's ball 4. So there's the first walk of the ball game. Let's runners at first and second. Well, it's funny. In trying to explain to pitchers how important rhythm is, when I got to Baltimore, always a great pitching staff with the Orioles, and I got there, it was very early in my stay. I think it was my second start. I'd thrown a couple pitches. It was in the 2nd inning, and the pitching coach, Ray Miller, came running out, and nothing was going on. There was nobody on base, and I looked at him. I said, what's going on? He said, I got a message from your infielders. I said, what's that? He said, throw the ball. They're falling asleep. Well, so that was subtle, but you got the message across.
Well, you've done enough games up here and called it as many games as anybody in baseball, and you see it. I mean, you can see it sitting up here and looking down. That here we see right now Cooper going out. Don Cooper, the pitching coach, might have spotted something. But you know how to make adjustments. An infielder a lot of times can go out there and tell you, hey, you know what, I have no problem coming out and saying, why don't you work a little bit quicker? To me, it always looks like it benefits the pitcher. The heck with the fielders. We're out there to do a job. But it really is the pitcher. If you can assist the pitcher by saying, you know what, pick it up a little bit in a nice way, I think they will.
Well, just about every pitcher who pitches a good ball game will say approximately the same thing. He's going to talk about his stuff, but he'll also say, you know what, I got in a very good rhythm tonight. Or he'll compliment his catcher. Fegley kept me in a good rhythm, or whoever happens to be catching on a given night.
True.
And yet, it still is really difficult for younger pitchers to understand the value of having good rhythm. Consistently good rhythm means getting the ball, knowing what you're going to throw, and then executing it. So Don Cooper's had his say. And a ground ball is short, should be 2. Over to second for 1. Back to first for a double play and out of the inning. So whatever Cooper said, it was the right thing, and we'll head to the bottom of the 4th in this 1-1 game. Florimon graciously hits the ground ball, and it gets Quintana out of the inning. Gordon Beckham to lead it off. He singled the first of 3 straight singles, and he scored the lone run tonight. That slider misses up. Garcia fairly shallow in right field. And the Twins play him straight away. He popped that ball up. Colabello makes the catch.
Hey, Sox fans, it's not too early to make plans for Sox Fest 2014 at the Palmer Hilton, presented by Miller Lite, Pepsi, Comcast, Sportsnet, Xfinity, and WGN-TV. Join current players and White Sox greats January 24th through the 26th for an exciting weekend of White Sox baseball. Visit whitesox.com, SoxFest, for more information.
That one popped straight up on a soft slider. And Florimon will make the play. So just exactly what Pelfrey needed was a couple of quick outs, and he got them.
And it looks like he's doing it with some time of a little slider, a little breaking ball, but something off speed. It looks like he's taking off his fastball, which really tonight, to be honest, it's got pretty good movement. He's working in on the hands, he's working away, but he's coming in on the hands on the right-handers and the left-handers. And right now, it looks like he's pulling the string on a lot of them, so he's gone to a whole different part of his pitching, and the White Sox hitters will have to make those adjustments. Little slider right there.
Marcus Semien drove in the only Sox run of the ball game, his second in a White Sox uniform. Out of the University of California, and doesn't really matter how good of an athlete you are, you better have some smarts to get into that bastion of academia. 2-1 count. Semien looks like he understands how to play the game, and the only thing that he could use would be a little experience, and he's getting some of that right here. It's nice to see young guys come up out of the White Sox system that looks like they have the baseball acumen of Marcus Semien.
It's just what it is, too, is the baseball acumen and watching the guy try to swing. I'm not going to go for results with a guy like this, a young man like this. The way he looks at the plate, the way he approaches it, the pitches.
Pop that one straight up. So a very easy inning for Pelfrey. 3 pop-ups. And we'll head into the 5th. Score tied at 1. Brought to you by Comcast Business Class. Top of the order in Darren Mastroianni, who's 1 for 2. Squared as if to bunt, takes a strike. And he falls into an 0-2 hole. So when you're hitting 196, but your on base percentage is in the 220s, you're not walking too much.
Well, I like the idea of him trying to lay down the bunt on the first pitch. What you have to take advantage of is what assets you have up here. And we look at Leury, maybe Leury Garcia is the same way. Here's a guy that's a switch hitter, maybe only hitting from the right side. You can bunt 300.
He got him. Good curveball down, and Mastroianni's a strikeout victim.
I like the idea of Quintana throwing that breaking ball because that really sets up his fastball really well. He's got a really good break to that. He doesn't have to hit the outside corner all the time with that. Just On the power hitters, maybe down and away, make them pull off it a little bit. But I think when he's got that, and he's got that cutter in on the hands and that fastball back and forth is the reason why he's got so many, no decisions, and, his ERA is pretty low.
That's one of the things that Don Cooper tried to impress upon him from last year. You can take something off pitches. You don't have to necessarily fool everybody with location. You can fool them with velocity. And that's what he's doing. Because last year, he threw a hard cutter and a hard fastball.
Right.
He, kind of surprisingly, was a glove side strong pitcher, meaning that he went inside to the right-handers, away to the lefties. Now he's working the other corner also. And by doing that, he's become a lot more effective.
Yeah, I remember a lot of times when he was introduced on the pregame, we talked about the pitching matchup. Last year I was saying a lot, he needs his cutter, he needs his cutter. It's a little bit like John Danks. He has to have his cutter. And then when John's throwing that good curveball or that changeup, you don't have to talk about that cutter as much.
That one fouled off way back in the seats.
I mean, if you sit and ask Mariano Rivera how he makes his living, I mean, you know a pitch is coming, but you can't do anything with it. And if you have a good cutter, my question, other than being Miguel Cabrera, how do you keep it fair? If it's in on your hands, you start the inside-out stuff like that. Only Derek Jeter can hit that pitch.
Well, there's a couple of guys.
Yeah.
During the course of their careers, showed that they could do that. Gary Sheffield.
Oh, another
Ryan Sandberg. They were able to take that ball down the line in left field and keep it fair.
I forgot about Sheffield. I didn't know Ryan Sandberg could do that. But that's a gift.
Yeah.
It really is. That's a gift.
Well, you have to lead with the knob of the bat.
Right.
And it's really hard to do because it goes against everything you're taught. You're taught about keeping the guy out of your kitchen by getting the head of the bat out. If you do that, you're going to yank everything foul. 2-2 pitch. And he takes one low, so the count goes full.
Well, you want to keep the speed off the bases in this game.
Dozier with a stolen base in the third inning scored the only Twin run. So their hottest hitter, Trevor Plouffe, in the on-deck circle, he drove in Brian Dozier. Ground ball to Gordon up the middle, and it drops out of the glove. Gordon shaking his head, knew he probably should have made this play.
Well, he should have made the play, but that'll probably go down, I think, probably as a base hit based on his momentum going to left field. But, he can stop. He has a strong enough arm to make that play right there, so we'll wait and see what the score does, but I wouldn't be surprised. It's got to be a base hit.
Well, I hate to break this to you.
Really?
Yeah, it's E4.
Ooh, that's a tough score up there.
That's the 11th.
Is that Bob?
No. Can't see the shine coming from the booth. Yes, it is Bob Rosenberg. You had to wait for the coin flip, actually.
Well, with the speed of Dozier and the momentum of Beckham going almost behind the bag, it'd be a tough one area.
There's a look at Rosie. Plouffe has hit the ball hard twice. He picked him off. Good throw will get him. And he got him.
Well, this is nice to see because I think you pretty much anticipate that he's going to go, and I think that really does help a pitcher a lot, thinking over there that they did run last time on him. He's not going to let it happen this time. He knew the guy was a base stealer, and that the fact that he looked over there and made him saw the break, and it was an easy pickoff.
Well, they're going to change that error to a base hit. And a 2-0 count to Trevor Plouffe was shown over the course of his career. He's a dead fastball hitter.
Does a pitcher anticipate or have a feel sometimes for who's going to run or when they're going to run? A lot of times or not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And in that instance, you had Dozier running on first move. He was going anyway. So it could very well be that Mark Parent, who gives the signs to Josh Phegley, felt the same way, and he might have said, go to first base with it. Pops that ball up, and it's going to drift into the seats. Mark Parent is going to give slide step, he's going to give pitch outs, and he's going to give throw to first.
And he's going to give you an awful mean look.
Minor league manager with Philadelphia, and one day will be a good major league manager. Lifted into right field down the line. Danks with a long run. The dive, and he makes the play. And what a catch by Jordan Danks. That ends the 5th inning. We'll head to the bottom of the 5th, and the game tied at 1. We'll start with the top of the order. Alejandro Diaz is 0 for 2. Fly out and a ground out. Is Pelfrey about ready to deliver his 81st pitch of the night. The bunt, and it's a good one. And no chance at all for Plouffe. That's the 7th bunt hit of the year for Diaz.
Well, this is what you like to see with Pelfrey still on the mound. Is, you know, he's throwing a pretty good ball game. You want your speed on. There's a nice bunt right there. I wish Diaz would do that more often, but tonight's never too early to do it. And, you know, it just goes to show you it's a pretty decent bunter right there. Because I thought Plouffe was playing him, you know, about even. So that's a pretty good bunt right there. Now that should tell you in your mind, if you can beat out a bunt like that with a third baseman on top of you, maybe you should do it a few more times when you're in slumps.
Well, he's got the speed to do it. Alexei Ramirez 0 for 1 with a walk, and the hottest of all of our hitters against the Twins.
Might see a hit and run.
Takes that one away.
We haven't had an opportunity to do that a lot this year because we're always behind. I understand it, but sometimes, you know, part of the learning process, I guess, you know, you just throw it out there, and you got a pretty aggressive hitter right here. Problem is, he doesn't takes pretty erratic swings, so this is not a real contact guy, even though he's your best hitter.
Well, on the bright side, on a follow-through of the swing, he just might hit Pinto, which would, of course, be very difficult then to get the throw off to second.
Whatever it takes.
1-1 count, 64 degrees, very windy night at the ballpark. St. Louis leading Colorado. Bottom of the third inning. St. Louis in Colorado leading 8-0. And for the Cardinals, be a big win because San Diego leading Pittsburgh. Top of the ninth inning in Pittsburgh. San Diego leading 5-2 and threatening for more. Those two teams tied atop the NL Central. Slider misses away and the count goes to 2-1. What do you think of the second wild card with the one and done game and then such a premium on winning the division?
You know, I've always liked the fact that it involves a couple extra cities. I've always liked that part of it. It's a fan base that I like. I just think that do or die really doesn't project who the better team is in that one game. You know, it's your best pitcher. Whoever your best pitcher is generally does it. I think 5 games I like better than just the one game. But again, I like the fact that it brings a lot of people to get involved in the game.
Line drive, base hit. Diaz was running, and Joe McEwing is waving him. Here comes Diaz. Here comes the throw. It's bobbled, and they're not going to get him at the plate. And on the play, Ramirez goes to third. So it's RBI number 47. It was the hit and run, worked to perfection.
Well, this is what's really nice about Speed when you watch it. He's taking off on the pitch right there. That puts Diaz in an area where the ball's not even being reached by the left fielder when he gets to second base. You know McEwing's going to make him go. He's got good wheels right there. What I like is the fact that Alexei took advantage and went to third base. You know, now we have a man on third and nobody out, and he drove in a run. So I think I like the fact that Alexei was aggressive right there and went to third base on the throw.
A double, run batted in. 39th double of the year, and infield in at all 4 positions. That ball lifted to left field, and nobody's going to get to it. Ramirez is going to score. It's a 3-1 game. And for Viciedo, his second hit of the night, his 53rd run driven in.
Well, you see Mastriani right here. He's not going to get to this ball, but I think the importance of Alexei Ramirez being on third base instead of second base, he might not have scored. He might not have read that right and might not have been able to score. So the fact that he took that extra base really helped him right there.
And another fact also, Joe McEwing's been trying to impress upon his base runners all year long. On fly balls to the outfield, when you're at third, stay around the bag. Because if you take off and he catches it, you can't score. And Alexei was staying very close to the bag, was able to score when it dropped, but might have been able to score if someone catches it, maybe stumbling forward. So good piece of base running. And Anderson has had his say, and the bullpen up and going. It's Brian Dunsing. Last night, Ron Gardner had to use 5 pitchers as Liam Hendricks did not make it out of the first inning. Adam Dunn is 1 for 2. And he fouls it off.
Generally, when Adam hits a home run like last night, any home run hitter, it's kind of a confidence booster. You kind of fall into a little bit of a streak where you know home runs do come in bunches. They do come in streaks, and that's really all about confidence. I like the way at the beginning of the year, the middle part of the season, he was going to left field because they have that. They don't have the shift on right now because Viciedo will steal, and he's at first base. But Adams, like any power hitter, you know, hot and cold, hot and cold. Paul Konerko kind of solved that after about 5 or 6 years with the White Sox. In his last 10, he's learned to come out of slumps a little bit quicker.
0-2 count to Dunn. That one misses on the outside corner. Adams sitting on 32 and 83 in the power department. Pitch number 90 coming up. And he got him. Fastball touches the inside corner.
The White Sox and Camarena Tequila both know that giving anything less than 100% just isn't good enough. That's why Camarena only offers award-winning 100% blue agave tequila. Camarena Tequila, the official tequila of the Chicago White Sox.
Brings up Paul Konerko. 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts, and he has not been able to pick up Pelfrey at all. Viciedo with a short lead at first. That breaking ball misses away.
Well, even though the White Sox have a 2-run lead here, it's not, even though Viciedo, I believe, can steal bases. Not a good time when you got a couple of guys behind you that can hit home runs. I mean, that's why a lot of times, unless there's 2 strikes, you want to hold off and give these guys an opportunity to be pitched to.
Throws a slider for a strike right down the middle. Dunsing is joined by Renicky. In a 3-1 game with the pitches piling up, could very well be that this will be the last hitter that Pelfrey will face. That one fouled off. You got Jordan Danks in the on deck circle.
Well, that was a little surprising when you showed me those numbers. I thought Viciedo at least attempted some stolen bases. That's kind of surprising because I think he runs good.
Well, he has surprising speed. It's surprising that he ever runs, but so far this year they have harnessed that speed.
You think a lot of it has to do with where he's hitting in the batting order? That has something to do with it? You know, he's been hitting 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Well, you're not going to run much in the 3 spot ahead of Dunn.
No.
But maybe they'll break out the speed game down the road. Pelfrey coming off arm surgery, and they certainly don't want to extend him too far. He's knocking at the door of 150 innings this year. I'm not sure how many more exactly they want to have for him, but they certainly want to limit the pitch count, and he's about ready to deliver number 95. Trying to get inside on Konerko, but he fights it off.
Well, I think his presence on a veteran, as a veteran on a very young pitching staff, goes a long, long way. We saw that with Jake Peavy and the way, Chris Sales kind of got next to him after Mark Burley left, because Mark Burley was his mentor. So I think there's nothing to be said enough about a presence of a veteran pitcher on the bench helping the younger guys.
Well, this staff is going to need some help.
Yeah.
And they don't have any arms readily available at the high levels of the system. Line drive, base hit. So the 4th hit of the inning. And Paul is aboard with his first hit of the night. It looks like Ron Gardner is going to come out, and that base hit is going to be the last pitch that Pelfrey throws. So as Gardner comes out, Pelfrey will exit, we'll step out, and be back after these messages.
In doing so, you'll be entered in for the chance to win an autographed Gordon Beckham jersey. Visit WhiteSox.com survey now.
Our Honda call to the pen is Brian Dunsing, who has done a terrific job this year out of the pen. He's 6-2, the ERA 3.86, on for the 68th time, so he's been a very busy man. You can always use converted starters out of the pen. They'll eat up innings for you. Last year he started 11 of his 55 appearances. Disappointing year for him. He was 4-12, his ERA up over 5. But this year, as a full-time reliever, he appears to be much more comfortable coming out of the pen, and he inherits runners at first and second. It's the Sox 3-1 lead. They about hit the Twins 9-7. And Jordan Danks is 0 for 2. Ground out and a strikeout. He swings at a breaking ball and no contact. Well, Jordan has just about everything you would need to be successful up here. He runs well. He's a terrific outfielder. He's got a much better than average arm. And now he's starting to hit the ball. So what is it? Is it the secret of just being around and getting an opportunity now?
I think a lot of times, Steve, he was brought up for a week at a time, and because of injuries, brought up, sent down, never felt like he belonged. But I think the last time that he went down and came back up and he started to swing the bat a lot better, I think he's starting to believe now that I can play in the big leagues. You know, he's a short in his swing a little bit. You're right. He reminds me a lot of Ryan Sweeney. Ryan Sweeney, I think, is a little better hitter. I don't think Jordan Danks has that much power, and Ryan Sweeney didn't have it. But they're very fluid in the outfield. He's very good out there. You love his arm. You love the way he can play all the fields. And this is a guy that you can make a whale of a living in the big leagues. You don't necessarily have to be a starter. If you can contribute, learn, and shorten your swing and come off the bench and be a fourth outfielder and play all those positions, I think he's a huge plus, and you make a good living and you stay in the big leagues.
1-2 count with one out here in the fifth. And that one misses away.
And I'm not saying the fact that he couldn't be an everyday player, don't get me wrong. I'm saying when you've established the way he's come and how far he's come in the last couple of months, he's a major league player. He just needs to find a place or a situation.
I think you hit it when you talked about the fact that if you can't start, there is a long career to be had as a terrific fourth outfielder who can play all three positions. Count holds at 2-2.
You know, I've always thought the toughest job in baseball is being a utility player because, you know, you're called on. You might not be called on for 3 or 4 days, but when you're called on, it's almost like a closer. You're called on to get the job done, either get a base hit, get on, steal a base, or you're going to go play one of 3 different positions. But when you really look at the track record of good utility players, they're in the big leagues for 10, 12 years, and they all make very good livings, very good salaries.
Outfield straight away. Chopper. Tough hop. Well played. Force out at second. No return throw. So Colabello made a very good play on a ball with a lot of topspin.
Kind of think right here what's impressive not only is a bad hop, but the way he makes a very good throw and a very good feed to a shortstop. That's what you want to do. You want to make sure you get one out and don't worry about doing it too fast and turning the double play, especially in a ball like that.
Gordon Beckham with a long look down at Joe McEwing. Gordon 1 for 2, singled and scored in the second inning. Ted Barrett apparently doesn't like the top part of the strike zone, and Gordon will take it as that ball had most of the zone. Dunsing got to the major leagues with the Twins in 2009. Was used as a starting pitcher almost full time. But as so often happens, he's thrived out of the bullpen, where he didn't have a lot of success ERA-wise as a starter. Best year by far, 10-3, 2010. But he started 13 of his 53 appearances.
Well, if you can't make the adjustment as a starter, when you go to the bullpen, a lot of time it gives you a second win, second chance.
Line drive left field, well hit, but Willingham right there. So he makes the catch, and that's it for the inning, but not before the Sox score 2 to take a 3-1 lead. We head to the top of the 6th. Into your U.S. Bank checking or savings account. It's our special thank you for becoming a new credit card customer. It's Arcia, Dummett, and Willingham in the 6th inning. Jose Quintana, an unfamiliar 3-1 lead as we head into the latter portions of the game. When you've got 17 no decisions, you're used to all the games being tough and tight. He'd like a little more daylight, but he'll take what he's got so far. Gordon Beckham up the middle, backhand, strong throw to first, and he gets him. Nice play by Beckham.
Well, Gordon had that same play last time and wasn't able to come up with it cleanly, but you can see right there, when we talk about range of these two guys up the middle, I'm talking about Ramirez and Beckham. He makes a nice play on this, and he turns around. He's got a pretty strong throw, very accurate throw to Paul Konerko. And, you know, I guess I'm so used to watching this stuff for Gordon and this ball club turn these double plays and make these plays. It's kind of surprising this year that we're having a lot of problem doing a lot of that stuff.
And what I liked about that throw by Gordon is he stayed over the top with it. And that's something that he hasn't done near as much as he did last year. When he stays over the top, his arm is very strong and he's much more accurate. And that was a whale of a play. Ryan Dummett, 1 for 2. And the count evens at 1-1. And here's what we're talking about. Backhand pickup. That part has always been pretty steady, but he goes right over the top and gets it there in plenty of time. Line drive, down the line, fair ball. So Dummett on his way to second with the second Twins double of the night.
You almost think on that play like there's the double down the line right. You almost think that that play right there by Beckham was something that he remembered his last play a couple innings ago and didn't have a lot on the ball, and maybe his baseball acumen kicking and said, I got to have to throw over the top. You see the line drive right here. Not much Semien can do. I mean, you're playing away from the line. It's a line drive down the left field line. Got a man on second base now with 1 out.
Josh Willingham is 1 for 2. Outfield playing him a step or two to pull, and he takes it right down the line. Karams off of Semien, and no chance to get him at first base. That one will go E5.
Well, all I can say is right here, he did stay down on it. It was right down the line. That's a play that I think if he plays there enough, he will come up with it. But you can see right there, it hit to the side of his glove. And I don't know if he was thinking I had to do something really quick or not. A lot of times when you haven't played there a lot, Steve, what you got to think about is, you know, the strength of your arm and who the runner is. That's what you got to do, and you got to try to get in front of the ball he can. But I think right there is a little bit tough. I think that's something he had to backhand.
Well, there's another big difference between middle infielders, of which he is one, and a third baseman, is keeping your backside down. Little chopper. Ramirez has it in the hole. They get the force at second, and that's all.
Well, again, that's a good play right there by Gordon Beckham, because he knows the runner, he knows what he has to do. And he simply wants to get the out of a second base. You read the hop as a 2-hopper, a good feed by Ramirez, and Gordon stretches out like a first baseman. That's what he wanted to do, was get the man at second base. No chance to turn 2. Now you got a man on first and third and 2 outs, and you're absolutely right about keeping that rear end down. And, you know, at third base, it's more of a reactionary position than shortstop or second base. There they have a tendency to be able to read it.
And you have more time to react.
You have a lot more time to react.
A lot more time.
The runner's in front of your eyes a lot of times, so that's a position right there. It's just going to take a little bit of experience.
Here's Colabello, 0 for 1 with a walk. Runners at the corners, 2 outs here in the 6th. Sox have a 2-run lead. And Jake Petrichka, another good arm to come out of the system. He's come up and just done a terrific job. Jake has a 1.32 ERA in his 11 appearances. And the count goes to 2-0. So with Quintana getting up close to 100 pitches, and Jose just about at the 186 inning mark this year. Last thing Robin wants to do is extend a guy that pencils out as probably a number 2 or 3 starter next year. Took something off that. One of the better pitches that he's made tonight. Fastball situation. Got a young dead fastball hitter. He throws a straight change and puts it in a perfect spot.
You know, Quintana's faced a lot of good hitting ball clubs too, and he generally gets out of a lot of jams. He makes the right pitches at the right time, so he does have the arsenal all the time, whether it's the Minnesota Twins who are struggling a little bit, but even against good hitting clubs like Boston and stuff like that, he has a tendency to keep the White Sox in the game.
That evens the count at 2-2. That's what we saw last year when 3-1. When Jose came up last year, the one thing we did see is, despite the fact he was a very young pitcher, he wasn't in awe of anything. His demeanor on the mound was very calm from the beginning, and he would pitch himself into and out of jams well beyond his years. He looked like he was a 10-year veteran, even though he was just starting out. And he lost him, so it's going to load him up for Pedro Florimon.
He's in that jam right now.
And with Don Cooper coming out, Robin is going to let him pitch his way out of this. Well, as a power right-hand hitter, would you rather face a right-hander or a left-hander? Or did it matter when you were hitting?
You know, I don't think it really mattered. I mean, I saw such a a plate full of right-handers. That's why left-handers, I think, have a tougher time with left-handed pitchers. They just don't see them as much. I know most everything's going to be going away from me. I guess that's an advantage when you go up there. I'm used to having my eyes up or looking over his right shoulder. When the left-handers came, sometimes I got a little too anxious and started pulling off because you see the ball too well. And rarely do you see the pitch coming in on you and coming in on you all the time like a left-hander does. I'm used to balls going away or, coming at you and breaking over the plate. So I like left-handers for the fact I thought I thought I saw the ball a lot better.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Florimon 0 for 2. And he looks at a fastball down.
Now, I asked Frank Thomas the same thing about how he faced left-handers. I guess he just annihilated them. When he talks about it, he talks about, hey, you bring any left-hander and I'm going to hit him.
Outfield straightaway, not overly deep. And a soft pop up to center field. Diaza makes the play, and Quintana and the Sox are out of the inning. So we'll head to the bottom of the 6th. It's a 3-1 game. Sox in the lead.
And that is into shallow center. It should score the run. Cruz tags. Here's the catch. Here comes the throw. Here comes Cruz. Sox grab the golden ray.
That was 30 years ago today. The Sox defeated Seattle. They clinched the American League West. And there was a host of awards that year. They ran away with it. They won 99 games. Lamar Hoyt won the Cy Young Award. Ron Kittle, the Rookie of the Year. Tony La Russa, the Manager of the Year. And Hoyt, Dotson, and Bannister did something that might not be done. And that's 42-5 in the second half of the season. You find 3 pitchers that do that, you're going to win a lot of divisions. And unfortunately, Tito Landrum on Lend-Lease from the Baltimore Orioles hit one in the upper deck.
And that was a young Jerry Reinsdorf had just purchased the club. He only had the club for 3 years. Wound up with a ball club that won it by 20 games.
You can never say he doesn't have good timing.
Yeah.
Josh Renicky comes into the ball game. Renicky, big right-hander, on for the 61st time. He's 3-1. The ERA just under 4. And that little squibber off the end of the bat taken by Colabello, and he takes it himself.
Well, we are celebrating that feat in the 83 team, and we should, and rightfully so. That's one of the more exciting White Sox team there's been other than 2005. And also, I think the Hitmen in 1977 was a very, very popular team. I believe, were you on that team?
Yes, I was on that team. But
extremely popular team.
Well, that was winning ugly, and we had almost winning very ugly. We couldn't field a lick on that 77 team, but the team could really hit. We had 9 guys, I believe, that hit 10 home runs or more. But I could take you around the field and explain the defensive prowess of each and every one of them, but
I think I know them.
Yeah, they could as defenders, they could really hit.
But you know, in 1976, when they lost 97 games, that's a one heck of a turnaround. Throwing Heyman and all those free agents, one-year free agents, and come up with a ball club that took the city after those kind of losses, a little bit like what the White Sox are experiencing right now. That it all can happen in a year.
Right back up the middle, and a terrific play by Roenicke. Now, you can't really practice this, but that'll make a few highlight reels.
Well, you talked about defense. Well, how about that right there when you got a pitcher catching the ball between his legs? And as a hitter, that's a little frustrating when you get back there. And I'm sure Simeon's going to be a little disappointed because I think in Charlotte they don't make that play.
No,
matter of fact, that might be the center fielder coming in to get it.
I'm not sure where they make that play, but Roenicke made a good one. Alejandro Diaza, who singled and scored a run in the 5th inning. He's 1 for 3. And now he's 2 for 4.
Well, Alejandro, when he goes the other way, is a completely different hitter than when he starts to pull off and go for power. He has a tendency probably to strike out a little bit too much. I like the fact tonight, first of all, he laid down a bunt for a base hit, a terrific bunt, but that gives you an idea. You know, he's a very difficult guy to defense against, and to take an outside pitch that way to left field. We see him during the summer have hot streaks like this, and he's able to do that. And then when he gets in his bit of a funk, he's always trying to pull off on that. But you can do a lot when you got legs like that, and you know how to go that way left-handed.
Lexi Ramirez, who doubled in a run in the 5th. Looks at a slider low and away. The Washington Nationals, who are red hot, beat the Atlanta Braves in a doubleheader. The Braves, who are really struggling, they're 4-8 in their last 12. But one of the big stories, Denard Span, with a 28-game hitting streak, had the game-winning ground ball in the 2nd game. Washington won that 6-5 after winning the opener 4-0.
Well, we always talk about how difficult it is for a ball club with an 18-game lead or whatever they had in their division to try to put it together towards the end. It always seems to be the team that's playing the best at the end generally goes through the playoffs and the World Series pretty good. Example, 05 White Sox, no question about it, is where that pitching is. So it's not surprising to me that there's a little bit of a letdown. But, you know, I think they got a good enough organization where that's not going to bother them. They might be resting, Steve, a lot of guys they normally wouldn't rest. I don't know. Haven't seen the lineup, but they got a bullpen I don't think anybody can hit. And that's going to go a long way in the playoffs.
6-5 game was the first game. The 4-0 was the nightcap. And that 18-game advantage is now down to 8. Although Washington's running out of time, they still are making a run at the wild card.
Well, do you recall the 2006 year right after the World Series? It was the White Sox came in 3rd in that division. They won 91 games. It wasn't because of how many games they won. It was about the 2 teams in front of them. That's what Washington is doing to Atlanta right now. It was the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers that really poured on us. It wasn't how bad the White Sox were playing because we were winning games. You win 91 games, you come in 3rd.
Well, Washington is now 81-70. They got off to a slow start. They've won 10 of their last 12.
It's good timing.
Short lead at first. And he walks in. And with 2 on, it leaves it up to Dan Biciedo. He's 2 for 3 with a run driven in.
Well, it's not surprising when you have a shortstop like Ramirez that hits the Minnesota Twins really well. I mean, how often do we see him walk in a week? Never mind 2 in one game. So you can tell they're trying to be cautious with him because he hits them very well.
Misses with a slider. Ramirez had walked a grand total of 22 times in 601 at-bats coming in. So they are pitching to him like he's Babe Ruth.
You got it.
And the count goes to 2-0. So after 2 quick outs, Roenicke running into some problems. Good swing, and that one fouled straight back. Cleveland and Kansas City tied at 3. That game in the bottom of the 7th. This is the 3rd time that Alexei has walked twice in one game. So it doesn't happen often.
You know, I hate to say it, but I think it's really good for baseball that if we can't be there, that teams like Kansas City and the Cleveland Indians, who have struggled so mightily, let's say, for the last 10 years, and the Kansas City Royals even more, that we've seen them when they've trimmed their roster down to little or nothing. Now we see them being very competitive, and I think it's good for baseball.
Base hit left field. And here comes Diaza. The throw not going to get him. And it's a 4-1 game. 3rd hit of the night for Viciedo. 2nd run driven in, 54th of the year. And more importantly, a 3-run lead.
Well, you see Viciedo right here. Usually he's missing pitches like that, but he's on his bit of a hot streak. We've seen him so many times when he's really on fire, and he does hit the Minnesota Twins pretty well. I know when we go to Target Field, he hits a lot of monster shots out there, but it's good to see that the White Sox, you know, had their troubles in the Central Division, just like the Minnesota Twins, but it looks like 2 combatants right now that are trying to figure out where they're going to be or where they're going to be next year. But Viciedo, it's, you know, there's nothing like going home, Steve, in the offseason on a good run.
And there's another factor, too, and it's a lesson to all young pitchers out there. You saw the kind of swing Viciedo had. It was a 3-1 count. He's looking fastball. He's looking middle in. And if he gets one, he's going to hit it hard. It's an offensive count. So Roenicke pitched himself into that count. Viciedo hit the daylights out of it. And if you fall behind and consistently fall behind, you're not going to win anywhere.
Well, this is why we talk to hitters about getting in hitters' counts. It's tough enough to hit, but if you can get in a hitter's count, you got a lot better chance.
Adam is 1 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. And he looks at a slider that evens the count at 1-1.
And to be honest, we have a lot of guys that are pretty free swingers. I would imagine a guy with good control can probably work through this lineup.
Adam Dunn loves to see Josh Roenicke. And if you're Roenicke, believe me, you know that Adam Dunn has absolutely crushed you.
I think you're better keeping the pitch right there where you just had that last one, if you have those kind of numbers.
Outfield straight away and very deep. And he misses off the outside corner. So another 3-1 count. Roenicke with 2 very easy outs before the single to walk and the single.
Adams kind of been letting this 3-1 pitch go. I think right now he's better served if he go ahead and attack it.
He attacked it. Hit the daylights out of it. Willingham back, and he's got room. He makes the catch and out of the inning, but not before the Sox score a run. And we'll head to the top of the 7th. It's a 4-1 game. Jim Miller and Dan Jiggets. That's Sunday night at 6:30 before Bears Steelers, only on Comcast Sportsnet. And Jake Petrichka comes in the game on a beautiful night in Chicago. Petrichka 1-0, the ERA a fine 1.32, on for the 12th time. Jose Quintana went 6. He gave up a run on 8 hits. Pitched out of a very tough jam in the 6th inning. Got his pitch count up over 100. But on his 102nd pitch, soft fly ball by Pedro Florimon got him out of a bases loaded jam. And Darren Mastriani to lead it off here in the 7th. And for those of you just joining us, Bill Melton is my partner tonight. Ken Harrelson is a little under the weather, and Bill was kind enough to sit in for Hawk. And we wish him well and hope he gets back here tomorrow for the day game. The finale of the series, the finale of the homestand. And then the off day Thursday and on to Detroit for 3 with the Tigers. (3-0) count on Mastriani. And he walked him on 4 pitches.
Well, Petrichka's had a little bit of trouble since he's come up to the big leagues to kind of get settled in right from the beginning. I mean, he's got good stuff. He's got good, sliders, good movement, stuff like that. But he has a tendency, and I don't know if this was in the minor leagues when I kind of tracked him on the way, that he had a little bit of a problem with control down there. Now, this guy, again, another young man with a good arm. But when you come in a ball game like that and all of a sudden you got a 4-1 lead and you throw 4 pitches out of the strike zone, that doesn't go too well with Don Cooper.
Ryan Dozier looks at one that gets away. So it's going to be a wild pitch. Not much of a chance for Fegley as he goes out now with a runner at second to go over a new set of signs.
What does a catcher and or a pitching coach do when it doesn't look like a guy has a decent release point? I think this is all about, is this mechanics or just the fact he doesn't have a feel or he just doesn't have a release point right now, or the fact that he's young coming in the game at home, or all of the above?
I don't think that's been the case. Petrichka's been very good.
Right.
It's just he's thrown 5 straight bad ones, and Don Cooper is looking at him to see if he can notice anything different right now. Now it's 6 straight bad ones. And Don has seen enough, so he wants to go out, calm him down, realizing that this is his first go-round in the major leagues. He's been very successful at it. And Cooper's telling him pretty much what you just said. You got a 3-run lead. Just get the ball over the plate.
Yeah, there's a good enough cushion. There's not a lot of home run hitters on the Minnesota team, other than Willingham, probably one of your biggest home run hitters. They got a couple more, but he'd be the most dangerous. And it's seemingly, actually, when you come in as a young man like this, the most important thing is really just throwing strikes. And that's why I ask. I don't know how hard it is to pick up that release point from the bullpen to the mound, or how quick you can make that adjustment as a young guy.
Well, if you can't do it as a reliever, you've got some big problems, because that's all you have, and it's not easy. He does throw it over the outside corner. See, that's a good pitching coach for you. You come out there, you tell him, look, son, throw a strike. You're a lot better off if you do that. Next thing you know, he throws one. 2-1 pitch. Little chopper in the hole. Tough play. Nobody at third. And the race. He missed it. Now Alexi is saying he got the back foot, but that's the only play he had. So Robin coming out, and he wants to differ with Alfonso Marquez's call.
Well, you see right here, you don't see the momentum of Alexei Ramirez. This is really the only play that he has going towards third base. He certainly can't stop and make a throw to get an out, but it's his judgment, and it was pretty close right there. Just a nice slide by the Minnesota player. And that's what speed will do for you. That's Mastriani, I believe.
He makes a nice slide. Now, he comes off the bag, but when a shortstop is diving at you, knowing that he can't keep the tag on you, you can do that. And it looked like he hit the bag just before he was tagged on the foot. But it puts runners at the corners. It goes as a base hit. There's nobody out here in the top of the 7th. And Petrichka in a jam with Trevor Plouffe. Looks at a fastball down. He could have easily been 3 for 3. Instead, he's 1 for 3 with a double and a run batted in. He was robbed of a 2-base hit by Jordan Danks to end the 5th inning. He throws that fastball by him.
I think with Petrichka, if he's got any kind of pitch, a sinker or something like that, a good double play right here takes you out of a big mess. They score a run, bases will be empty, and you'll have 2 outs. So I think that I've seen him pitch enough, Steve, where I think he does have a heavy ball or a sinker or that slider, something to have the ball hit, on the ground. And that eliminates a lot of, right now he's in trouble. Let's face it, there's nobody out. You got a man on first and third. Only takes 1 pitch and a double play to make you feel better.
And Dozier knows that maybe he's not concentrating on him. He's already swiped the bag tonight. Right back up the middle, right off Petrichka. It's going to go as a base hit. And they're going to have to check on Jake because that ball got him flush.
Well, it looks like Robbins is going to go out there and chuck it right there. I can't tell if it hits his glove, if it hits his wrist. I think it's his glove wrist if he did do that. But right now, look, he's rubbing up the ball. Doesn't look like it's real bad at this point.
Well, it's Donnie Veal coming into the game with runners at first and second. It's now a 4-2 game, and Petrichka will leave after facing 3 men and retiring none. So we'll step out and be back after these messages.
Now that they've added StubHub Fan Awards, so you can add a little extra with your tickets like seat upgrades. So head to StubHub and get your White Sox tickets today.
Our Honda call to the pen is Donnie Veal. Veal comes into this at 2-3. The ERA a touch over 5 on for the 45th time. He inherits runners at first and second. It's a 4-2 game. And he's going to deal with Oswaldo Arcia, who's 0 for 3 and hasn't had the ball out of the infield. And there's one guy sitting on the bench who's looking at the bases and looking at that score and looking at the very real possibility of his 18th no decision. The key for Veal has been the first pitch. Normally, when he throws it there, he's got some problems. If he gets it over, his stuff is good enough to get by.
Yeah, because he simply needs to be in a breaking ball situation. You got to be ahead of the hitter for that, because it's almost unhittable, especially against a left-hander, young man like this.
Outfield around toward left center. And he does throw a fastball by him, so the count evens at 1-1. Garcia's only grounded into 4 double plays this year. And he takes a breaking ball down. It's Lindstrom and Percy loosening up in the pen. Ground ball. Over to second for one, back to first, not in time, and the ball gets away. And the third run is going to score.
I'm not really sure right here if Gordon Beckham really had to play it. He was taken out pretty good again by the Twins base runner. Looks like you said he's throwing down below a little bit. Doesn't have the accuracy in that arm that he did have right there. I don't suggest you put that in your back pocket. I mean, that is a double play ball, but Alexi took it off the bat of a left-hander, a left-handed hitter, and I think Gordon was playing probably further away from the bag than he wanted, so the Twins get another run.
And unfortunately, it's E4, so Veal will depart. Will step out. It's a 4-3 game as Matt Lindstrom comes into it, and we'll be back. Lindstrom, the third pitcher of the inning, on for the 72nd time. He's 2-4, the ERA, 2.97. He's had just a great year. The left-handers have hurt him. And with the switch hitter, Ryan Dummett, he's going to face him from the left side. The advantage being that Dummett is not near as good a hitter left-handed as he is right-handed. And he's grounded into 12 double plays this year. So Alex Presley is a pinch runner at first base. Got him from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's a very speedy center fielder. He started the game yesterday. Went 2 for 4 with a couple of singles and a walk. Dummett right-handed, 2 for 3 with a double. It's a 4-3 game. The Twins have scored 2 here in the 7th.
Well, we've certainly seen our share of games where we've walked into the 7th, 8th inning and where walks have put us under a lot of pressure, I should say, the infielders, and the infielders not coming up with the double play. And Quintana, like you said, sitting on the bench. Hopefully it's not number 18.
That fastball misses away.
But it all happens with the leadoff walk. I don't know. I hear you guys, you and Hawk, talk about it an awful lot. We talk about it in the studio an awful lot. It just, you're putting all that pressure and trying to make the plays when you got a team that's struggling defensively.
Base hit right by Paulie. Presley on his way to third. And the third hit of the night for Dummett.
Well, no surprise here. A left-handed hitter like Dummett, his third hit of the night, gets the ball down the line. Actually, Paulie makes a good stab at it right here, but it kind of hops up on him. It's a good thing that really wasn't down the line because he'd have wound up on second base. So right now you have a man on first and third and only one out. And again, the White Sox need that double play.
It goes E3. So the third error of the night.
Well, that's just a bit surprising. Did it hit his mitt? Hit that ball pretty good. I guess it's a 50-50 call, you think?
Well, it went under the glove, and it's the official scorekeeper's decision. Could have gone either way. It did not go Paulie's way.
Yeah, I thought he, tried to play the hop and brought his hand up. The ball didn't quite get up there, but.
And Clete Thomas comes on the pinch run. So good speed on the bases.
You've got Ramirez now playing back for the double play he was in. You have Beckham at second base, double play depth. Ramirez at double play depth.
And Fegley with a good stop of that hard-breaking slider. So normally you would think that Josh Willingham would be an ideal candidate for a double play. But he's only grounded into 7 of them this year. That's in 362 at-bats. Good fastball for a strike. The count evens at 1-1. Willingham has 2 sacrifice flies this year. And again, for a fly ball hitter, that's a somewhat surprisingly low total.
He's pretty much had a tough year all the way around, average-wise, and everything he's done as far as home runs and stuff. But you're right, I'm a little bit surprised with that bad knee that he has not hit into that many double plays. But again, he is a fly ball hitter.
Willingham 1 for 3 tonight. Reached on an error last time up last inning. And a chopper foul. So the count goes to 1-2. This is where Josh Fegley has got to be very careful. If he's going to call a slider, which is a wipeout pitch for Lindstrom, he certainly has to be ready to smother anything. Matt has 5 wild pitches this year.
Well, I'd have to say right now, because of the sacrifice fly in order, that he's going to have to go with that wipeout pitch. I'm not sure that Willingham is that wild of a swinger. I think he's fairly selective. I know it's a bad year, but I think he's fairly selective.
Good stop. Keeping Thomas at first and the double play in order.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you want that pitch to be. Like you said, it is a wipeout pitch, and you want to get guys that are a little aggressive and hopefully bite at it now at a 2-2 count. it changes a little bit. I don't know whether I want to go out there again.
Well, you got a guy with 116 strikeouts.
I got to go probably up and in, something up.
He's going with a fastball away. Let's see if he gets it by him. Threw it by him inside. And a big strikeout as Willingham goes down on strikes for the 117th time. And you see where the catcher sets up.
Well, this really looms large, and I think you know that, Steve, that coming out of the bullpen, you need strikeout guys just for purposes like this. You need to have some guys that can, not only throw strikes, have a lot of movement, but they're strikeout guys. You got to bring a guy in a situation, sometimes with the bases loaded, sometimes a man on first and third with one out, but you need to get the strikeout and not worry so much about making the double play. And I think Lindstrom's done a pretty good job this year.
Josmil Pinto 1 for 3 as he swings at a slider and misses by plenty.
Yeah, I just think the Achilles heel of the White Sox has primarily been the walks. When you have those walks, you put everybody else in tougher positions. I know I've said that repeatedly, but that as a former infielder is something that you don't mind making. You want to make the plays and stuff like that, but you don't always have to be in these situations, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning.
Runners at the corners, 2 outs. And a good slider for a strike. So Pinto in an 0-2 hole.
I think a lot of your good teams that are going to the playoffs and stuff generally have a bullpen where they do have a guy that can come in the late innings and get that strikeout with bases loaded.
Little chopper right at Semien. Makes the play and out of the inning with the lead. It's a 4-3 game as we head into the bottom of the 7th. City as the White Sox take on their rival Tigers in Detroit. Chuck and Bill will kick off CSN's coverage at 5:30 with Subaru pregame live, so don't miss White Sox Tigers Saturday night at 5:30 on Comcast Sportsnet. Casey Fien comes into the game on for the 69th time. He's had a good year. He's 5-2, his ERA 3.86. He's also been a very busy man. Right-handers have done very little with him. Opponent's batting average overall at .221, which is an outstanding number out of the bullpen. Mastroianni shifts over to right field as Presley stays in the game in center. And Paul leads it off. It'll be Konerko, Danks, and Beckham to face Fien. Paul 1 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Singled in the 5th inning. That one misses inside. And slider evens the count at 1-1. Ball well off the plate. Ball goes after it, hits it off the end of the bat, and fouls it off.
Well, Casey Fien is really not your setup or closer, guys. Would that be Glenn Perkins?
Glenn Perkins is your
he's
closer.
A closer, left-hand
and he's been absolutely unbelievable this year. Perkins with 35 saves, a 2-0 record, and a 2.45 ERA.
Now there's a guy that went from a starter.
Yeah.
And had a pretty good, fairly good year one year, then had trouble, and then all of a sudden they found another place for him. And look at the success he's had.
Well, he also picked up about 3 or 4 miles an hour on that fastball pitching out of the bullpen. Full count as Axelrod and Jones loosening up. One lifted foul, slicing out of play.
So you're really saying that Glenn Perkins actually, with the less amount of innings that he's thrown this year, keeps his fastball? How about all the warming up and the times he has to come in? Doesn't that kind of wear you down towards the end, or you think?
Well, I think if you have a good arm, and he did, but as a starting pitcher, you're not going to throw with everything you have each and every time out. We saw Chris Sale out of the bullpen throwing 97, 98 consistently. Now as a starter, he's 93 to 95. He lost him. Jordan Danks made just a phenomenal play, and it's time now for the Avis Super Slow Motion Replay. He robs Trevor Plouffe of at least a 2-base hit. This coming in the 5th inning. What a play by Jordan Danks. And now Leury Garcia comes on to pinch run for Paul Konerko.
And I would think with Garcia, I'm not sure he's going to stay flat on first base. He's going to have to maybe utilize that great speed he has. I mean, this is what he's, I think it was the Texas Rangers. This is what they looked at, was the fact that, his speed is a guy that's really difficult to throw out. But this is perfect for the White Sox if he can steal second base.
There he goes. Throw to second. It's up. He's in. First time we've seen Pinto throwing, and took a little time to deliver it.
Took a little time to deliver it, but actually was a little bit closer than I thought it would be when I saw the jump of Garcia right there. But Pinto gets it down here. Looks like he has a lot of strength in that arm, but you're right, his footwork wasn't that good. But, we'll talk about Garcia. This is what I think the White Sox kind of envisioned, not to bring a guy just to pinch run, but this is what he does best.
Count evens at 1-1, and now with Garcia at second base, nobody out. representing a very valuable insurance run, Jordan is going to have to find some way to pull the ball.
Yeah, and I think he knows that. I think he understands that. That's what his job is to do, is to pull the ball to the right side. Got a pretty good chance right there. That was a pretty good pitch to do it. Now that you're in the hole, what you want to do is you can't worry about, advancing that runner now. What you have to do is you have to get a pitch that's something that you can drive and hit hard, because a lot of times guys will think I have to pull it, and all of a sudden the pitcher in the mound's smart enough to know I got to throw him away, a sinker away or fastballs away. But with 2 strikes, you might as well just go ahead and get in your hitting stance and just try to drive the ball hard and try to drive him in.
1-2 count on Danks, and that evens the count at 2-2.
Yeah, there's that pitch away, and that's exactly what Finn's going to do.
15,964. That's the attendance tonight on a cool night in Chicago, and Jordan Danks goes down on strikes.
Well, that's a big strike out there for Finn. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how difficult it's been for the White Sox to execute. And this is really just is executing what you have to do as a hitter. And we haven't done that very well this year, advancing runners, bringing a guy in from third base early in the game, a couple men on. We're not able to get the sacrifice fly or move runners around. And perfect example right there. But if you're going to be make the White Sox outfield or bench, you're going to have to get that done.
Gordon Beckham 1 for 3, single and scored a run in the second.
Well, Fiend kind of surprised me right there, starting him off with a breaking ball.
Well, he's 1 for 6 lifetime against Casey Fiend, and his outfield does not have real strong arms all the way around. So there's no doubt on anything resembling a base hit, Joe McEwing is sending Leury Garcia.
And actually, the outfielders are straight up. That's a little bit surprising, so there's a lot of room in those gaps.
Good hard slider. And Beckham in an 0-2 hole. We pan around, show you the defense. That one misses high and away. It's Brian Dozier who is the man trying to keep Garcia close at second. He has Florimon holding his position at straightaway shortstop. That lifted foul off to the right side.
It's like Gordon's fallen into kind of a little bit of a lift me type thing. And I know, he started off really well during the season. Then when you lose time to injuries and stuff, and then you come back and he was swinging okay, and then he lost it. Just hadn't been able to get it back right now because he's swinging completely different than what he did in the first half of the season.
Little chopper. Right at Dozier. He makes a play easily, and on the play, Garcia moves to third.
That would have been a good at bat, the hitter before. I'm not sure whether the Twins would have played in on that one anyway. So
looks like we're going to have a pinch hitter for Josh Phegley, and it's going to be Connor Gillespie. When Rick Hahn got Connor over here, this is the kind of role that he envisioned for him. He envisioned coming off the bench late. He envisioned him playing a couple games at a time, maybe, facing some of the tougher right-handers, but the surgery to Beckham Keppinger moved to second, and Connor Gillespie was playing most every day. I was hitting .255. But again, when a guy is forced to play every day, when you don't envision him as an everyday player, it's usually not a phenomenally successful year. He pops it straight up. Florimond calling for it, and he makes the catch. So the Sox are turned away. The score stays at 4-3, and we head into the top of the 8th inning. In the ball game, and it's Nate Jones. Jones at 4-5, ERA 3.75, on for the 66th time. He's had a pretty good year. 85 strikeouts as we look at Leury Garcia, who stays in the game to play second. Connor Gillespie plays first base. Brian Anderson makes up 50% of a brand new battery. And Chris Colabello looks at a fastball high and out of the zone. He's had a no contact night. Strikeout and 2 walks. Fouled that one off to the right.
Well, it'd be kind of nice if he follows through with that sequence one more time.
Well, it's also a situation where you'd like to see Diaz move a couple of steps toward right center field, because Colabello against a normal pitcher is an off-field hitter. Against a guy who throws it hard as Jones, he'd have to hang a slider for him to pull it. He throws that fastball by him upstairs. Ground ball easy to shortstop, over to first, and Colabello is out by plenty. And we're going to see a pinch hitter for Pedro Florimond. I think it's Chris Parmelee. So Parmelee comes in the game hitting .224, 8 home runs, 23 driven in, 2 for 11 with a run batted in as a pinch hitter. He started last night's game. went 1 for 3 with a run batted in. And he swings and misses at some high heat.
Well, you see Garcia coming in for Beckham, playing way back on the grass. You want to knock anything down you can. Try to keep the ball in front of you and get the out. And you're right. I mean, there's so many new players that come up, Steve, in September. I know you go over in meetings where to play certain guys and what to do. I mean, but most of both outfields, whether it's the Twins or the White Sox, are pretty much straight up.
Well, that and the fact that with Garcia, who's coming in the game, really doesn't know Parmelee very well, if at all, he's going to look over into the dugout. And they're going to move him one side or the other. It has a lot to do with who's pitching also. In this case, Nate Jones throws some good hard sliders. If Parmelee makes contact with those, they're going to be inside. He most likely will be pulling him. That being said, he probably is not going to pull a fastball, so you got to play him pretty much straight up, which is how he's playing him.
And that goes the same for Marcus Semien, who hasn't played a lot of third base, doesn't know whether to play in or to play back. He's just right now, they're probably going to position him. I think he was told to look in the dugout, and whether it's Robin or McEwen or somebody's going to tell him where to play in certain situations, especially here in the 8th inning.
Did he go? Yes, he did. Big strikeout of Chris Parmelee. Hard slider down and in. The appeal to Alfonso Marquez, who said strike 3.
Well, he did commit that over the plate. Just goes to show you how hard Jones can really throw. I mean, if he develops, I've seen him in some games when he had that slider, and when that slider really bites with that fastball, I mean, it's pretty electrifying. And then I've seen him actually go out there without that, and he has to rely on the 97, 98 mile an hour fastball. Can you imagine if he has any kind of movement down? What would happen? I don't suggest throwing a split finger and tearing up your arm. But if you had that, you would be one tough cookie to hit.
Chris Herman comes into the game. He comes on a pinch hit. Now, you're not going to give a splitter to a guy throwing 99.
No, I know.
Until he gets down to about 90.
What do you think about it when he comes out and he kind of exposes the ball as a hitter? I love to see that hesitation where I can actually pick up his arm, slot a lot quicker. You think something like that is really necessary to hide it a little bit with your shoulder or something, or what?
I think that if his velocity ever drops to 93, 94, I think he'll be very hittable. At where he is now, I don't think he's all that hittable. Herman, a rare breed, a guy who can catch, a guy who can play the outfield. 1 for 8 as a pinch hitter this year. Brian Dozier in the on-deck circle. And the count evens at 2-2.
A lot of times when you're trying to build your bullpen for the following year or during the year, you always look for, different deliveries from different pitchers, whether it's down, under, and, changing the look of the hitters. I mean, to have 4 or 5 guys that throw the same fastball and same slider, get used to it.
He got him. So it's out of the 8th inning with a 4-3 lead. Well, first it's Chris Parmalee. He goes down. And then it's Chris Herman. He goes down on strikes. And there are 2 whiffs for you. Jared Burton comes into the game. Burton on for the 69th time. He's 2-9 this year with an ERA and even 4. Opponent's hitting .248. That's a pretty respectable total. So he's been in the wrong spot at the wrong time, because the numbers aren't all that bad to be 2-9. It'll be Semien, De Aza, and Ramirez to face Burton. Eduardo Escobar checks in at shortstop. And Burton misses with a slider. Chris Parmalee is in right field. That fastball called a strike was down and out of the zone. Semien, being a rookie, is not going to have any complaints for Ted Barrett. Marcus 1 for 3 tonight, with the first run of the ball game driven in back in the 2nd inning. Pops that one straight up. Dozier calling for it. He takes control and falls down. In an inartistic effort, he made the catch.
Well, that's really what you call staying with it. And that's the most important thing right there. That looks like something you might do in Glendale in spring training or something. But most importantly, he didn't take his eye off the ball, and that's what you call a major league pop-up.
Alejandro De Aza, 2 for 4, and one of them a perfect bunt. They're in at the corners with Plouffe on the grass. And that's what a bunt hit will do for you.
It's exactly what a bunt hit will do for you. It'll bring the infielders in. It'll cut off the angle. And as long as you show that you can do it and you're successful with it, that brings the third baseman in. And now you got a chance to shoot it the other way. And Alejandro actually can go that way pretty well. Not a lot, because he likes to pull the ball and hit it out. But if he put that part of that game in his arsenal, his batting average would be way up.
He's had 574 at bats and 7 bunt hits. And if he showed that more, even the attempted bunts, and both ways, not just the push bunt to third, but the drag bunt to first, he would bring them both in. And over the course of a season, it's probably 20 points on your batting average. But he draws a big walk, as the Sox looking for at least one insurance run in this 4-3 game. It's 3-10 and 0 for the Twins, 4-11 and a big 3 errors for our Sox. So the defensive woes continue. Sox have made 116 errors this year.
You know, actually, when you talked about Diaz, I like the drag bunt a lot of times to the second baseman if he's playing back. You know, split the first baseman and the second baseman with that kind of speed. You know, the best bunt is down to third base. They're playing you in. If you can get that ball on the ground, you can generally, as fast as he is, beat the first baseman in the bag, and the second baseman's not going to be able to make the play. So you like to see that a lot, too. The one down at third base takes a little more art, but if they know you can do it, you bring them in, start slapping some balls by you, and then you change your approach, and it opens up the infield. But I also, again, I do like the drag bunt. Doesn't have to drag it to first base and be perfect down the line. Just try to make the second baseman of the pitcher, get the pitcher off the mound, especially a left-handed pitcher, and then bring that second baseman in a little bit, get a lot of hits.
Alexi Ramirez with an RBI double in the 5th, a couple of walks to go with it, and a 1-0 count. That slider stays over the middle of the plate for strike 1. in a huge game at Kansas City, Cleveland came back to beat the Royals 5-3. It was Allen at 6-1 over Wade Davis at 7-11. Chris Perez picked up save number 25. So the Indians, who dropped one to Kansas City last night, now find themselves as one of the 2 wild card teams over Tampa Bay.
I tell you, when you're coming down to the end, that's kind of gut-wrenching right there when you lose.
Well, especially as the Indians won it, because Kansas City was leading 3-0 into the top of the 6th inning. The Indians scored a run in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, and then held on. Big win for the Tribe. Throw to first, but Diaza is back. So the finale of the series in the homestand tomorrow. That game will be on WGN. Then the off day Thursday. Then it's off to Detroit for 3. Back here against Toronto on the 23rd in a makeup game before we travel to Cleveland for the last 2 road games of the season. And after games on the 24th and the 25th, it's back here for 4 against Kansas City, the final 4 games of this season. And there are not going to be a whole lot of people too sorry to see this one end. It has been a very difficult year for everybody associated with this Sox team. Quick throw to first, and Diaz is back.
Yeah, that definitely goes for the players also.
Well, the players, the coaches, the front office. I mean, the coaches are going to put in the same amount of time and same amount of effort as they do in a year where you win 100 games. It's just that the results were not there this year. And Diaz going on the pitch will have to return to first. Back in the 5th inning, I really liked what Robin did. He had Diaz running, and Ramirez hit a rocket into the left field corner. Diaz scored all the way from first base. It was probably the best hit and run you could have, and on the play, because of the throw, Ramirez was able to coast into third, later scoring on the Viciedo single as the Sox scored 2 runs. First base for the out. But if you make that throw to second after touching the bag, you're going to have to make a tag, and Colabella was not able to do it. So Diaz moves into scoring position. Just like we promised you earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And it came in the 6th inning. Diane Viciedo, his 3rd hit of the night. It was the 4th run of the ball game, and that's the difference. So Viciedo with 3 hits and 2 driven in, with an opportunity for a bit more. Burton misses off the outside corner.
Well, I think with the base open, you got to be pretty careful with Viciedo. I know, when you got 3 hits on the night, you're seeing the ball well. He does hit the Minnesota Twins well. That I would have to kind of paint that outside corner and come way in. And there's that pitch down and in with a lot of movement. He's opened up the outside part of the plate right here, but I probably, Adam Dunn's a left-handed batter. So I think they're going to try to pitch Viciedo pretty tight.
I'm going to pitch him inside off the plate and allow him to get himself out. Threw that fastball by him on the outside corner.
Well, see, that's what happens when you show that pitch inside the movement in. He's trying to open up too quick now, and they knew to go back on the outside corner right there, go to the outside part of the plate, because he's already exposed to the catcher and the pitcher, that left shoulder coming out on that last swing before that one. I mean, as a pitcher, Steve, you can watch the you can watch a hitter and pick up his, just like a catcher can see where he's standing in the box. You kind of see his tendencies if you see his shoulder flying open. So I think sometimes you read that as a pitcher, do you not? I mean, that's a pretty good indication of what you think.
There's no doubt, but being a different pitcher than Burton, I was going to work him differently, but if I went in, I'd go in off the plate. He struck him out on a high fastball, which is what he was intending to do. So no runs, and we head into the top of the ninth. It's a 4-3 game, and it's on to Addison Reed. Five and 3, 3.63 ERA on for the 64th time, but the most important stat for a closer, he's looking for save number 38 in this, his 44th shot at it. So it's been a great year for Reed. In a down year for most everyone, Addison Reed has sparkle. It's going to be Dozier, Plouffe, and Presley. So a tough assignment here in the ninth inning with a 1-run lead and a good base runner up in Brian Dozier. Good fastball for a strike. And yes, he did. So says Mike DeMuro. And it's 0-2.
Well, that's a pretty good slider right there when you take it off that fastball of his. The quickness on the break. Sometimes he doesn't have that, but when he does have that, sets up that fastball a lot better.
Just misses down. Addison said that he grew up watching the Angels, was an Angel fan, watched Troy Percival come into games, running in from the bullpen and closing the games, and then he knew that he wanted to be a closer. Line drive, and it's right at Semien. So a huge first out.
When you talk about Troy Percival, he's a little bit like Bobby Jenks was with the White Sox for a couple of years. I mean, he was just unhittable. I mean, just to watch him. And, you know, he was an ex-catcher.
Yes. And that was a slider that was right down the middle.
You want to do that when you're ahead in the count.
Fortunately, hit right at Semien. Trevor Plouffe with a couple of hits tonight. And he looks at a fastball for a strike. Plouffe with 2 runs driven in. their hottest hitter for the month of September. And the left-hander Alex Presley, who came in for a pinch runner in the on-deck circle. And Plouffe in an 0-2 hole. Outfield straightaway, very deep in a no-double set. Slider misses low and away. Marcus Semien is right on the line at third. Ramirez pretty much playing up the middle at shortstop. Well hit center field. Diaza going back. He's back to the wall. He makes the catch. Plouffe gave it a ride, and fortunately, it was not far enough.
Well, he got a little more wood on the ball than I thought he would with that count right there. But to see Diaza track it all the way. And if it wasn't for a cool night in September, and that was a day game, we might have had a tied ball game.
Well hit. Alejandro made a good play. And Alex Presley, the man we've been looking for all night long, out number 27. Fastball misses down. With the Twins, Presley hitting .302. He's pretty much a slap hitter to all fields. Told he did start last night's game where he had a couple of base hits. And the count evens at 1-1. So 15,964 in attendance tonight. A few have departed, those who have stayed on their feet. One and two.
Well, you really want to get this hitter right here. You want to keep that speed off the base pads. You know what Gardenhire, manager of the Twins, likes to do.
One strike away from the 8th win of Jose Quintana. Well deserved here tonight. And save number 38 for Addison Reed. Right back up the middle. Make the play by Ramirez, and the game is over. Some sparkling defense late. Sox win a 1-run game. And how about that, Bill? On a bad defensive night, 2 defensive gems ended.
Well, this is all about positioning right here, and we know Alexi has a lot of range out there. And right there, a little surprised that the guy hit the ball that hard. I wasn't looking forward to that. But you're right, the best 2 gems came up late in the game. Steve and both Jones and Reed did their job, and Quintana finally gets a win, and he doesn't get ND. Is ND Notre Dame, or does that mean no decision?
Not tonight, it doesn't. Our GMC player of the game is Diane Viciedo. He was 3 for 5 with 2 runs driven in. And Bill, I'd like to thank you for sitting in tonight. So for my partner, Bill Melton, our director, Jim Angio, our producer, Mike Leary, our associate producer, Dave Ross, our technical manager, Mark Harper, and for executive producer, Jim Corno, I'm Steve Stone saying so long, everybody. Coming up next, the Orland Park Nissan postgame show with Chuck and Bill. You've been watching Chicago White Sox baseball on Comcast Sportsnet.